World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
We are going to be broadcasting a community race by streamer Sir Foch. Joining me in the studio, we have Edwin Saliva. Hi, Edwin. How are you doing?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. To all of you watching out there. What a great time to race as well, Simon. I'm excited actually to see this race because we're about to have two races, as you will mention. So, and the thing is, Simon, last time we were here, it was obviously last weekend. We had local racers battling out in the local track, obviously local simulator track, which was obviously the first time. Today we're about to have Sir Foch's community race. So I think I'm pretty excited. We were watching some practice sessions, the practice timings before, and they look pretty close. They look fast as well, and I'm excited to see what the racing is, what this kind of racing is all about.
I couldn't agree with you more. For those of you, just to explain briefly, tonight we're going to have two races, as Edwin mentioned. The cars that we're going to be driving are the GT3 cars around the Imola circuit. Now, Edwin, we've seen many great races around Imola, both virtual and in real life. What do you think of the track? What do you think of the cars as well, the GT3 cars? What's your general idea?
Well, first of all, obviously, I think these we were about to see. They are really good racers. I believe so. Obviously, they're really good esports racers. And Imola it's a tricky circuit actually because you have a lot of undulations, a lot of ups and downs, and it can upset the car obviously when you go downhill, down to the Rivazza corners, for example.
Definitely.
And obviously, I think also as racers, as esports racers, they know the track by heart. They know the limits of the car and the limits of the racetrack as well. And I'm looking forward for qualifying session actually, because practice session is really tight. First top three actually, and so I think they're gonna have a really good battle for pole position and obviously front rows and second rows. And hopefully we'll enjoy some pretty good racing, maybe last lap battles or maybe some at the final stages of the race, some battles over there. And I think it's going to be a pretty exciting race as well. Huh?
I mean, that's what we hope for, isn't it? We always want those really close battles, those really like tongue-in-cheek moments where you just cars are so close together, they're making contact, they're hitting each other. Obviously, clean racing is always the goal, but
exactly.
If they're rubbing against each other a bit, trading paint just a little bit, always what we want to see, no?
We always like intense battles, and with a 30 minutes race, Simon, you could have all sorts of things because a 30 minutes race is sort of a sprint race. You just drive and go. And obviously tire management is going to be crucial. Definitely. And Imola is a thirsty track, so you need to take care of the fuel as well. The fuel you put on board and the fuel you use during the race as well. And obviously during qualifying you just put some liters. The liters enough to do the out lap and the hot lap, and that's it. Yep. But during the race you don't have that. I believe they're entitled to do a pit stop, but obviously it's not mandatory to do a pit stop. You can just race with the tires you have and just floor it. But tire management is going to be crucial. Imola is a big tire eater, and fuel is important. Fuel management is going to be critical as well. Huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Imola is one of those tracks where it's very unforgiving in the way that, like you're saying, it eats through tires, eats through fuel. But once you get in that rhythm, once you really start to understand the corners and how much speed you can take, it really flows. So you can get some gorgeous shots of cars flying through Tamburello and the Villeneuve chicane.
Exactly.
But you do have to be in that rhythm. Otherwise, it can be one of the most almost frustrating tracks, because if you're not in that rhythm, if you don't have those if you don't have the understanding of how the car is going to react in certain situations, you're going to be fighting it through chicane after long hairpin, after long hairpin. So you really have to get a really good grip of the car.
And the thing also, Simon, if you're not getting into the race rhythm, you'll end up in the middle of the pack. And obviously in the middle of the pack, we know what happens. Obviously you can get tangled, you can crash out of the race as well. And as I mentioned before, since it has a lot of ups and downs, those dips downhill, they can be really unforgiving actually, because if you misjudge a corner, you'll end up in the grass, you'll end up in the gravel trap, and those gravel traps in Imola, they're bad. They're not runoff areas.
Definitely.
They're pure gravel traps. So obviously, if you run off there, if you end up in the gravel trap, you'll end up losing 5 places easily. And so braking management is going to be crucial. Tire management is going to be crucial as well. And but I think these racers, they know what the limits of the car is, like I mentioned before, Simon, and they know everything by heart. I mean, you're on a simulator, on a GT track, on a GT3 car as well. So I'm really excited actually to see some qualifying session.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, we have some of the drivers who, if you're a fan of Opel Racing, you might have seen before. Obviously, Sir Foch is one of them. He's raced in our Hyperrace series before. He's joined our events in the past. Another name I recognized was Wojtek Neuwirth, who an incredible racer on his day, really, really strong, can absolutely take it to Sir Foch and challenge at the front. It's where I expect to see him. But interestingly, there are a lot of names we don't often see. Some names that me and Edwin are going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation of. So I'm going to apologize in advance for that, because we are Maltese and some of these names are very much not Maltese surnames. So please roast us in the comments. Let us know exactly how horrible we are, and we're very sorry.
Let's hope we don't mess
We
up
try
with
our
them.
best. We try our best.
Let's hope we don't mess all the names. Not all the names, or most of them.
A solid 90% we will mess up.
I never commentated actually a community race for Sir Foch.
No, this is our first one we hosted.
It's the first time we're doing this community race for him. That's why I'm really excited actually to see how it pans out. As I mentioned before as well, Simon, you mentioned as well the race trim and how the race is going to pan out to be for some of the drivers out there. The thing is also, it bites you easily as well, because obviously if you don't get those braking points in the chicanes right, especially in the final chicane, that's a long straight as well down to Tamburello corner, and it could bite you easily. So the thing is, it's going to be tough for those first few rows up ahead of the grid. You don't want to be in the middle of the pack, and obviously you don't want to be last as well, because it's not easy to overtake in Imola. Sure. It's a narrow track, as we know, so overtaking is going to be really difficult as well on these GT3 cars. That we know that they don't have sort of weapons like they do in Formula 1 racing, like DRS and stuff like that. So it's going to be crucial for all the racers to get so up ahead in the grid as they can.
I agree with you. One thing we should mention is the qualifying format for these two races is a little bit interesting. So for the second race, there will be a second short qualifying session. And in that second qualifying session, only the drivers in the bottom half of the grid will be able to qualify. The top 10 don't qualify. So the better you do in the first race, you're going to have a much bigger challenge in the second race, because you're going to be starting from the back. So do you think, because Imola is a narrower track, it's a bit more harder to overtake, do you think we're going to be seeing drivers clawing their way through the field and getting back up to the front, or do you think they might struggle in this mid-pack that you've been talking about?
We said before it's an unforgiving track, but I think if you have the right race pace, you can get some, if you obviously qualify in the midfield, you can get some positions maybe back during the race, and obviously it will help you back in the second race, which obviously, as you said, Simon, the first 10 finishers don't qualify for the second race, and they start as they finish. So the winner of the first race is the pole sitter for the second race automatically. It's not a reverse grid. We would love to see a reverse grid actually, because it will be nice for the winner starting in 10th place and see where it ends up. But unfortunately, it's the way it is. And we're still going to see some pretty good racing. The thing is as well, starting from pole position doesn't necessarily mean you'll end up in first. As we saw
Definitely not.
last week, Simon, last week it was we had the simulator karting races from GP Racing, which was really fun. It was an amazing and exciting race till the finish line, and as we knew, the pole sitter didn't even and Hill ended up last in the first lap. So
I think both poses we had ended up, if not last, very far down the order after the first lap.
yeah, exactly. So it doesn't necessarily mean that with your fast in qualifying, you'll end up finishing in first place, and then obviously first place
Course,
even
yeah.
in race 2. So as we mentioned before, the drivers need to take care of their own tires, suspension as well, car damage as well, not running off track, because obviously car damage is going to be crucial as well, as we're now on joining, we're down on the track. As I mentioned before, Simon, you don't want to go off track, as we see third place Headwood going off track right now.
As you can see, Sir Foch, as we just cut to this thing, only 200 off the leader. That is an we spoke about it a bit earlier, but those are some incredibly close times. And even just looking at the top 5, less than half a second.
Exactly.
So we are
Simon.
going to see some very exciting lap times as this session goes on.
Yeah, and the thing is, Simon, obviously the cars, some of them are different. Obviously, we have Ferraris down there, we have Lexus, we have Bentleys, we have Audis, and Mercedes and BMW, as well as Porsches and Jaguars. But all of them, they're sort of relatively the same setup. They're not messed about. You can't trim the setup of the car. And as we're now on board with Jason Lurs, down to the first the Tamburello chicane actually, and heading down to the hairpin. In front of him is another car, another BMW, which goes off track right now. Actually, makes way for Jason Lurs. He's currently in 4th position, 2/10 behind the leader. So we're about to let's join Jason Lurs actually to watch this hot lap of his, and right now coming down to the downhill to the corners, which I was mentioning actually before. Those curbs over there, they can be really tricky actually, Simon, because if you go off track, there are 3 bumps which obviously can get the car, upset the car, and obviously throw you off the track as well. Even in this chicane as well, you don't want to jump the curbs too much, because obviously it hurts your tires, suspension damage as well, and obviously it hurts you as well when you exit the chicane as well. Exit speed is going to be crucial as well.
In a corner as narrow as this, where braking and acceleration is as important as it is, you really don't want to lose momentum, because the more you jump off the scuffs, the more you go a bit wide, maybe dip a wheel onto the grass, you're going to really struggle getting that power down and getting a good run into the following corner.
I agree actually, Simon, and you really need to take care of those curbs. Those curbs can bite you really easily, and obviously you don't want to get bitten in a race and qualifying as tight as this. You need to be spot on every corner, every lap, and the hot lap is going to be crucial as well, Simon.
Absolutely. And again, looking at the lap times one more time, when you have drivers running as close together as this, how do you make those very small gains? What do you think has to be perfected to really get that 1/10 that you're missing?
I think, Simon, what a driver needs to do actually, he needs to actually get the braking points really well, obviously getting out of the corners and exiting the corners perfectly, and it obviously it's easier said than done, but you need to focus primarily, I think, on the exit speed and obviously mid-corner speed as well, Simon, because mid-corner speed is crucial as well in this Imola circuit. We're still with Hubert Szymanski right now, who's currently in P6, 0.6 of a second off the leader. Currently on track are 12 drivers right now. Szymanski is one of them actually. First place right now is Monsoon, as we see a yellow flag over there. I don't know, a white flag right now, so something is on track right now. I can see.
Probably a car slowing down to
I think so.
give
I
way
think
to
so.
another a faster driver.
I think the car exiting the pit actually. And currently on track is even Sir Foch right now, who is in P2, 200ths of a second of Mahsoum over there. And it's fascinating how tight it is right now. As you see, the pit lane, Stefano Pocorobba right now. The Italian is in the AMG Mercedes GTS and currently in P8 and 8 tenths of the leader. He needs to fight some time, actually, Pocorobba in the Mercedes Benz, because he's about to be eaten actually right now. 8 tenths of a second, it's a huge amount of time right now, Simon.
Definitely, and Imola is not the longest of tracks. 8 tenths, it's not the worst amount. I think you can definitely find maybe 3 or 4 tenths. You'll be right up in the mix along with Hovnes in 5th, but you do have to find that time. That's the problem. So on a shorter track like that, 8 tenths is a lot more than it looks if you're on a longer track like Spa, where 8 tenths is essentially nothing.
Exactly, Simon. Obviously, as you mentioned, Imola, it's a Renault track, and obviously it's not a long track. That 8 tenths is a long time, obviously, over there, as we see right now. Mahsoum still in first place. Sir Foch is still 200ths of a second behind Mahsoum, and then Hidwound is 2 tenths behind Mahsoum. Then Golso 3 tenths. Purvins is 5 tenths, and Simansky is 6.5 tenths behind Mahsoum. Riding on board with Samir Foch, who is the host of this community race, Simon, and onto the start-finish straight. Let's try to stay on board with Samir Foch. This is the start-finish straight. He's in the Ferrari right now, GT3 race Ferrari. Coming down to the Tamburello corner, it's on board with Samir Foch. Tamburello corner negotiated perfectly. Now up to the gears, 3rd gear, and then 4th gear, 5th gear, up to the gears to the Villeneuve corner, and then the Hairpin Loza right now, as we see Samir Foch. We're still on board with him, negotiating it perfectly. Not a lot of corrections on the steering wheel for Samir Foch. Getting the car straight up as a Canadair car over there slows down and lets Samir Foch by. Coming uphill right now to the Piratella corner right now. Going downhill, Simon, to the Acqua Minerale corners, and then the Variante Alta, which is an uphill once again. These are tricky corners because you go downhill the Acqua Minerale and then braking hard up the hill to the Variante Alta, the Variante Alta chicane, and obviously you need good traction over there, Simon, and the good braking stability because you're braking the car while turning into the corner. Variante Alta negotiated for Samir Foch perfectly. Now down up to the gears, downhill right now to the Rivazza corners, Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2. 5th gear for Samir Foch, down the gears right now. 2nd gear for the first of the Rivazza corner. Let's stay on board with Samir Foch. Now the second of the Rivazza corners. Let's see the time for Samir Foch as he comes up to the final straight, the start-finish straight, and the timing right now for Samir Foch. Let's see if he improves his time on the previous time he has, which is 200ths of a second from Mahsoum, and he does not improve the time on Mahsoum. So let's stay on board with Samir Foch. Maybe we can have another flying lap on those tires.
I always love watching a full lap like that, especially how we had just now onboard camera with a picture of the offboard on the side. It really gives you an idea of what these cars are handling through each corner, like how they're tackling it, the sense of speed that the drivers have to be feeling, and we as an audience kind of get to be almost a fly on the wall for them in their heads. With all the decisions they make, you get to watch that. It's very, very interesting.
It is interesting, and obviously as we see Valdoia right now warming up his behind the Porsche right now, is warming up his tires. Valdoia and the Mercedes AMG yellow car. He's currently in 16th position, which is 1.3 seconds off Mahsoum in the lead. So you don't want to end up over there, actually, Simon, because the midfield is packed with really good race. We have from 10th place to up to 19th place in about a second. So that's the midfield in a second from 10th to 19th. So as we see Valdoia right now in the pits in the yellow Mercedes-Benz AMG. Jason Lurs in the Lexus car, the black and white Lexus. currently in P4 with 3/10 of Mahsoum in the Ferrari GT3S. He rounds up the variante and spins around. You don't want to do that actually, Simon, because
No.
you flat spot your tires easily.
The second one.
As the same thing happened as Samir Foch right now.
Samir Foch has
Goes
taken
fastest.
P1.
Exactly, with
He is
6 hundredths of a second. Sorry, Simon, you were correct over there. 600 of a second of Mahsoum. So battle is between Sir Foch and Mahsoum, Simon.
Interestingly, if you look at the side of the timing, right in the center of the timing tower, where you can see all the manufacturers, the two Ferraris are in first and second, and then there's a bit of a gap between the car next to it, a Bentley in third place. Do you think that maybe the Ferraris have a bit more of advantage around this circuit? Maybe their car works better at the circuit, or is it just that these two drivers are incredibly closely matched and maybe just a bit further ahead than the others?
It could be a combination of two actually, Simon, because both of them they're driving really well. We were on board with Samir Foch right now. He exits the Acqua Minerale, the Piratella corner, and as soon as he exits, he actually did a small mistake coming out of the Piratella corner there, and he used all the track actually and more on the Piratella exit. And I think it's combination of both. Ferraris, they're working well at the Imola circuit, and I think both drivers as well were on board with Samir Foch before previously, and he was driving really well. Not a lot of corrections, so the car seems stable enough, and obviously you need a stable car around this corner, around this track, because as you come up to the Acqua Minerale corner, you need a stable car during braking as well. You're braking in a downhill, and then obviously you're going uphill as well. So you need a good braking stability, and both drivers are driving brilliantly actually.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where there was a third Ferrari in the field a bit further down the order. So I do think that it's the drivers getting as much as they can out of the car. Maybe just because of the nature of the track, maybe the Ferrari works a bit better around some of the longer straights, the tighter corners. But do you think that it's going to be necessarily that final kicker that almost guarantees them a good position in the track, or do you think that the other drivers can still claw back? Because ultimately, it's only 2/10 to the best of the rest in third place. So how big do you think how big of a challenge do you think is going to be to overcome those 2.5 tenths?
The thing, Simon, you know what I was thinking as well while you were saying that it's not about clawing back those 2/10. It's about as well from the practice session to the qualifying session, how your mind will be set at that break point, because obviously you have a 2-minute break between practice session and qualifying, and in that bracket of minutes you need to still keep focused and still keep obviously your head into it, so you can do a good hot lap as well. Because sometimes obviously, as you know, Simon, as you're driving flawlessly, you're driving really fast, you're driving without no mistakes at all, but then at that small break you end up losing some concentration, you end up losing your momentum obviously there. We're right now with Ikit Hidwound, who is now currently he's running right now in his in P1 obviously. Purvins in P2, Bentley. None of these guys obviously did a hot lap yet. This is the qualifying session, and we're gonna see right now whether I am right or wrong actually, Simon, because they had their 1 minute, 2 minute break, and we see what sort of momentum there's still keep on going. Hidwound right now is is the first one on track in his Aston Martin GT3 car. Right behind him is Purvins in the Bentley.
It'd be interesting to see, obviously, like you were mentioning, they had this short break going on to the qualifying session. We are going to see, right at the gate, drivers are going to put a bank of time, maybe not the fast time that you will see during the session, but they are going to want to get a very decent lap time on the board as early as they can, so that if something goes wrong later on, they aren't completely out of it.
Of course.
Who do you think, based on what we've been watching so far, who do you think might surprise us, might go up and challenge the top two?
Well, it's between Samir Foch actually, and Samir Foch and Hidwound as well, and as all the cars right now are out on track except Mel's in the Mercedes-Benz AMG Mez is still in the pits right now. And well, obviously right now all of the drivers are on track right now, as Mez came out of the pits as well in the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3 car. We're right now with Samir Foch in the Ferrari Kid Racing. We stay on board with him so he can start his hot lap as well. Maybe we can see the hot lap of the host of our community race right now, Samir Foch. Let's see if maybe the director can keep with Samir Foch right now. And as he's about to start his timed lap onto the start finish straight, he goes up through the gears. Purvins right now with 141.722. It's a banker lap time, and Samir Foch was actually on a hot lap 141.360. Immediately Samir Foch on the pace with Purvins in second place, 0.3 of a second behind him. Szymanski half a second behind Samir Foch, and then Valdoja a second behind. Actually, why I'm saying that Muir is 0.8 of a second behind Malowinski right now on 141 and 110th, obviously. So 2.5 tenths on Samir Foch. Immediately out of the pits, Malowinski 141.100 for him. So that's provisional pole for Malinowski. Samir Foch in second place. Everyone is doing a hot lap right now because obviously time is tight, Simon.
Definitely.
We only have 15 minutes of qualifying session. So they need to get a banker lap in, and they need to get a hot lap in as well sometime.
Absolutely. You know, the drivers want as much time on a fast lap as they can, and obviously they want to do it in as much clean air and with as much focus as they can. They don't want any distractions, so they're going to need these banker times, because the more cars are going to be going around, the more they're going to be pushing and pushing. Slight mistakes, slight hiccups are going to kill laps, and I think we could see a lot of drivers maybe starting a position or two lower than maybe where they have the pace for because of those small mistakes.
And the thing is as well, Simon, Samir Foch right now has a good reference point up ahead of him. He has the number 420 car, which is Purvins in third place. So he has a good reference point. And let's see what Samir Foch, over the line he comes, stays in second place. 2.5 tenths of Malinowski. So Malinowski in provisional pole right now, 141.100. Samir Foch in second place, 2.5 tenths behind him. Then Purvins 4 tenths. Then Hidwound 5 tenths. Szymanski is 8 tenths. Valdoja in sixth place with 8.5 tenths of the leader in the Mercedes-Benz AMG. Ryan Cooper right now, we're watching him in the Bentley. Obviously, I think Ryan Cooper is British, so he's bound to have a Bentley as well. Currently in 14th place, 2.5 seconds of the leader. So let's stay on board with Ryan Cooper. Maybe he can surprise us a bit. In front of him, there's a yellow flag. I think I saw a flag coming up. There is a yellow flag, so drivers need to back down a little bit. As Ryan Cooper is still in 15th place, he may be lifted off over there. Coming up to the first chicane, which is the Tamburello chicane for Ryan Cooper in the Bentley, which is planted down. Actually, he's really good on those brakes. Samir Foch right now, as he comes to the Variante Alta, downhill right now to the first of the Rivazza corners and then the second of the Rivazza corners. Let's stay on board with Samir Foch and let's see whether he snatches pole of gold. So right now with 1-4, so we have the first sub 1 minute 40 seconds with sub 1 minute 41 actually seconds behind for gold. So with 1 minute 40.772, Simon. Malowinski in second place, 4 tenths of a second. Let's stay with Samir Foch. Over the line he comes. Start for the stage for Samir Foch. He comes over the line. Let's see. Oh, he slows down.
He slowed
down. So that's
not didn't want to finish that lap. Must have made a mistake somewhere. Maybe he just wasn't going fast enough and knew that he wanted to come back to the pits, get a fresh set of boots, and then try again. Maybe when the track's a bit clearer. Also saying that, looking at the track map on you have on the right of your screen, there's no such thing as a clear track right now, is there? Everyone is out there. Everyone wants those laps. They know they don't have a lot of time to make things happen.
And the thing is that we are on board now with Malowinski. Let's see if he improves his time. Currently P3, 0.328 of a second behind gold. So let's stay on board with him right now. Coming up to the first corner, which is the Tamburello chicane, exited beautifully in third gear right now. Let's stay on board with him. Fourth gear, exits the corner judging the braking point perfectly. Malinowski braking hard right now to the Villeneuve chicane and coming to the Loza corner, Loza hairpin right now, braking hard into second gear for Malinowski. Let's see what time he has. It's 35 seconds right now. He's green. It's everything is green right now. So green sectors all the way, so he can floor it. And Piratella corner right now for Malinowski. Currently in P3, 3/10 of a second behind Golso. Now braking hard to the Acqua Minerale corner and then uphill to the Variante Alta chicane. Let's stay on board with Malinowski. Let's see if he snatches pole position of Golso, which is currently professional pole position, 1 minute 40.772. Braking hard right now for Malinowski. The chicane perfectly judged by Malinowski. A bit of correction over there, a bit of sideways movement in his Audi car. Let's stay on board with him. Audi GT3 car for Malinowski coming down to the first of the Rivazza corner. He's got a reference point in front of him. Let's hope it doesn't the other driver, the opponent driver, doesn't slow Malinowski down, but actually gives him a bit of free air, a bit of punch in the air, so Malinowski can floor it. Onto the start finish straight he comes. This is a good lap from Malinowski. Let's see if he gets provisional pole, and he does with 1 minute 40.532. That was an amazing lap for Malinowski. That's provisional pole. Golso in second place. Sir Foch, the host of this racing community, third place with 4 3/4 of a second behind Malinowski in provisional pole.
That was an absolutely stunning lap. I'm so glad we got to watch it for most of the entire lap. I really like when we were watching him. You could tell he really had amazing control of the car. Like even when the rear end did snap on him, he managed to catch it pretty much instantaneously. Lost very little time from it, and I mean the proof of the pudding is in the eating. That lap.
And the thing is,
for a second I thought the lap was deleted, but no, we just moved slightly.
No,
down the timing board,
exactly. Even I thought that.
I see his name disappear, and I'm just like, oh wait, was the lap deleted? But no.
Exactly.
He is still leading. There we go. Malinowski is still in P1, Golso in P2, 2/10 behind, as everyone just mentioned.
We're watching
the
Newman
gaps
right
are
now
a bit
in the Bentley. And he said he did a really good lap actually. He jumped from 14th place to 7th place. That's a really good lap from Newert in the Bentley. What are you talking, Simon? Sorry.
We're now watching Volodya as he comes across the line. Let's just check to see how he does. He's in 12th at the moment, not very much mid-pack. Goes up to 9th, so it does improve. Maybe the track is getting a bit faster, a bit more rubbered in. And also, as we can see from Volodya here, he does have a lot more clean air than they did at the beginning of the session. So I feel like drivers are now starting to find their own space on the track, find that nice little sweet spot where they're not being too affected by the car in front, but also not affecting the cars behind them either. They obviously, we know when you're racing, the worst thing you have is a distraction. So the more clean air you have, the less people that are just there to get in your field of vision, the more concentrated you can be on the actual driving.
And Volodya as well, he has a good reference point actually right now in front of him. And you can use that reference point, Simon, to get obviously up ahead of other drivers. As we see Luca Kiley right now in the Audi GT3 car. Onto the start finish straight he goes. He has a good actually reference point, and the car in front of him, a punch in the air right now for Luca Kiley, currently in 11th position with 1.2 seconds behind the leader. That's the midfield right now. We're looking at another midfielder, which is
Medvedevas, I believe. Again.
Yes.
We are very sorry for surnames.
We're really sorry about that. And the other Ferrari,
he jumps to 14th. He improves from 17th to 14th. That's a pretty good lap for him. Still very much mid-pack, but only 1.5 seconds off the leader, which compared to where he was a few moments ago is not a terrible lap. As we now watch Pokorobba, I think, going to 15th, just behind Medvedevas. Again, very strongly mid-pack. They're going to want a bit more pace out of it, but it is a decent attempt.
I have to mention as well, Pokorobba was the last person to exit the pit lane onto the track. So obviously he didn't lose much time, as we now see the Swedish Tommy Henriksen in the McLaren GT3 car. He's currently in 19th position, not yet he's set the time. He's in 19th place, 2.7 behind the leader, so he needs to find some speed actually. Tommy Henriksen, the Swedish driver in the McLaren GT3 car, so up through the gears in to the Variante Alta. He needs to pick up the pace actually. Still currently in 19th place. negotiating this chicane is tricky, Simon. You need to get it right and fast as well, as Tommy Henriksen actually demonstrated us how not to get the chicane, because he jumped on the curbs and took it slowly as well. So he needs to pick up the pace as well. As we see now, Jason Lurs in currently in P1 in the Lexus.
Timing? Maybe the timing beam hasn't fully caught up yet, but yeah, Jason Lewis does seem to be in P1. Interestingly, you were mentioning earlier that some drivers hadn't set a time. Massum, who was one of the top scorers in the practice session, one of the fastest drivers on the field, hasn't set a time yet. Do you think that's going to affect him as the session continues? Because
Of course.
time is running out. He's going to need to get a time eventually, unless maybe he's having some technological problems we don't know about. But if nothing's the case, all being well, he's going to need to set a time.
Yeah, he needs to set a time, and obviously, as he is now on track right now. Mossa Mahsoum, he's currently on track.
As we see, he's being slowed down by that car who honestly should have gotten out of the way a lot better. And that's P8. He's going to be swearing in that cockpit if the other driver has slowed him down any at all.
Yeah, you don't want to have team radio right now on Mahsoum's car, because obviously that's not a good lap for him. But P8, currently in P8, actually, when you think about it, he topped obviously practice session. He needs to get on top, at least in the second, onto the second row actually. But Goldso in the Lexus made a good effort with 140.425. That's an incredible time actually on Malonsky, which is 1/10 behind. Then Samir Foch, half a second behind Goldso. Then Hid Wound 8/10, and then poor Vince 1 second behind Goldso. Actually, Simon, you know, I was thinking as well between the currently posted there, which is Goldso, and poor Vince, that's a second in the space of 5 drivers. So the track is rubbering in.
It is rubbering in, but it's also a second between 5 drivers is quite a big gap. You tend to see a lot smaller gaps, and I wouldn't be surprised if those gaps shorten as we see Lewis go into the gravel. Oh, that's at the final corner. That's at Ravazza. He's going to be so frustrated with that. Poor thing.
Because he was doing also a really good lap.
He really was.
Szymanski in the Audi GT3 car onto the start-finish straight, currently in P6. That's checkered flag. So Goldso remains the professional pole sitter. Malons gets see what Samir Foch can do. Maybe he can snatch also pole position.
As we come back to Mahsoum, this is the driver we should be watching. He's has the pace. It's just a question of can he get this lap together. As he comes across the line now, he's currently at 8. He goes fourth behind Samir Foch, who is in the pits. So Samir Foch is not going to complete the lap. And Goldso has got pole position for now, unless I believe Hedvund has a lap, but it doesn't look like it. Goldso P1, which looking at practice, we didn't really. He was definitely on track, and he was definitely at the sharper end of the field, but he didn't really make as much of his impression as Samir Foch and Mahsoum did. So what do you think? Where do you think that pace came from?
I think the pace came from sheer confidence in the car. Actually, Simon, he had confidence braking in the chicanes, the Ravazza corners as well. You need to have good exit, especially the second Ravazza, Simon, because the second Ravazza obviously leads you to that long start-finish straight up to the Tamburello corner, obviously the following lap. So you need a good stable car in braking, and you need confidence as well in the braking power of the car.
For sure. And as we saw from Wojtek Neuwirth, it's so easy to just dip a wheel into the gravel trap, and once you do that, it's going to suck you into the gravel trap completely. And you've ruined your entire lap. You do that in the race, you're probably going to lose positions. You're probably going to make have a hard time kind of getting back to the rhythm. You're going to have gravel on your tires. You really, really don't want to mess up that final corner because
it leads you to the start-finish straight. So it's a long start-finish straight. We don't have the old chicane and then the start-finish straight. You don't have that. It's a long straight, and that's it. The second Ravazza, and we go. And that's qualifying actually for you.
Yeah, that's qualifying. The first race is going to come up in just a few moments, but until then, we're going to take a short break.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Welcome back. Edwin, we just watched a very interesting qualifying session where the gaps were a bit larger than we typically see around here. Maybe around a second between the top 5 drivers. How do you think that's going to transfer into the race? Do you think that maybe they'll be a bit closer or maybe those gaps will persist?
Well, actually, it was a terrible qualifying for Mahsoum, actually. He didn't even set a time. And then at the last maybe 5 minutes, he came out of the pits. And first, he was held up, qualified in P8, and first hot lap was in P8. And then at the very end, where there was the checker flag, he ended up in P4. And to me, he was also, if he was there before in the qualifying session, he could be fighting for pole position as well. So, but nonetheless, it was a good qualifying actually for Goldso as well in the Bentley.
Definitely, and I think it's going to be a very, very exciting race. One thing to mention though, for those of you watching live at home, hi, thank you for joining us, obviously. I just want to mention we have been having a couple of audio issues, so we apologize for those. We'll see how they persist throughout the stream. One of the problems with live streaming, us at the commentating booth are none the wiser to them. So we have no idea how bad they are, but everything should be watchable, everything should be fine. We'll be going to track in just a few moments. So Edwin, if you had to put money on someone, we have Goldsaw in P1, ahead of Malinowski and Foch. Who do you think is going to... Who can take it?
I think Sir Foch as well. He has a really good race pace, judging by the practice sessions obviously we had. And qualifying session doesn't mean where you're going to end up. Obviously, as we said before, Mahsoum is the loser actually on that qualifying, because I thought he was going to be further up, currently in P4. So starting the race in P4, I think he had some penalties there because Hedmund is in front of him in P4. So Mahsoum in P5 in the Ferrari GT3. That's one of the. I think it's a bad qualifying for him. But nonetheless, Goldsaw and Malinowski in on the starting grid. That's going to be an exciting race, as we're now watching the cars on track in the formation lap right now.
This is a very gorgeous camera shot. Just seeing all the cars come very slowly, as you get almost like a parade. Very, very nice to see. So thank you to the director for getting this one for us.
Yeah, we're seeing now as well picture in picture as the cars make their way onto the formation lap. Obviously, they're not allowed to race on their obviously.
They're gonna
race.
They're going to race.
Goldsaw and Malinowski try to race each other down to the chicanes leading to the Variante, and obviously the start is going to be crucial as well, Simon. As I mentioned before, start is going to be crucial as the cars right now round up the Acqua Minerale corners and uphill to the Variante Alta. They need to warm the brakes, Simon. They need to warm the tires as well. They need to do some weaving, as Hedmund there is demonstrating us how to do some weaving to get some heat into those front and rear tires in his Aston Martin right there. So Goldsaw currently heading the field into the Variante Alta chicane, heading them downhill right now to the first of the Revazza corners. Then they stay stationary, Simon, onto the starting grid, actually, because there are a lot of drivers, Simon. The pole sitter has to stay longer, obviously, than the last placed drivers, because he's the one in first place. He needs to wait for the other drivers, as obviously Malinowski is going to tell Goldsaw, come on, get on with it. So
if I may comment something I'm noticing just now, to those of you wondering why there's a different name in the bottom right of the screen that says P1, I believe Jason Luz is just showing up differently because of maybe a glitch in the game somewhere, but that is Goldsaw and P1. The car number is the same.
Exactly, as the cars round right now are currently in formation. It's going to be a rolling start, actually. It is not going to be a standing start.
They're getting up to it. Goldsaw in P1, Malinowski in P2.
Exactly.
They're ready to go, waiting for that green flag to drop so they can get racing. They want to see who's going to get to the Tamburello chicane first.
I hope it's going to be a standing start, because obviously we'd like to see a standing start. No, it's going to be a standing start. It is
a rolling start, in fact.
So it's a rolling start.
5 red lights are on. They're going to go green any moment now. As of course, you can see the line there.
Yeah, Malinowski doesn't need to wait. He needs to tell Goldsaw, come on, let's get on with it. It's green flag right now. It's green flag. So Goldsaw and Malinowski right now as they exit the start from the straight up to the Tamburello chicane, one beside each other. Goldsaw still in first place.
Malinowski has spun out. It caused massive problems for everyone behind him.
Malinowski turned around. So and that also gave Samir Foch a really good chance, and now Hedmund as well. Really good chance on Samir Foch, who is still in second place, and as we see right now, Malinowski in last place, actually. That's a big mistake by Malinowski, who wanted to race hard the Goldsaw, and he wanted to get the race going as soon as possible, and he made a big mistake, the biggest mistake actually that I think we're going to see the whole race. So still Samir Foch in second place, holding up Hedmund, Mahsoum Szymanski, poor Vince, he's holding up everyone. He's like a cork in a bottle actually right now, Simon.
Absolutely, and Golzo has such a massive gap out the front. Like, that spin has really slowed down everyone behind him. To have almost 3.5 seconds in less than a lap, almost half a lap,
And
that is a massive gap, and the other driver's going to have to do a lot to overcome it. He's in a really, really good spot at the moment.
And the thing is, Headwound needs to get on with it and pass Samir Foch, because obviously, as we see right now, the midfield, obviously, as we were talking before, the midfield is packed with cars right now. As we see Christopher Tanguy, who in the Jaguar right now, Jaguar GT3 car. And as we go on to the start finish step, let's hope the director, we can get the first place driver right now onto the start finish stage. We go. So that's lap 1 counted and done and dusted. So we still have Golzo in first place. So 3.8 seconds already on Samir Foch, with Headwound in second place, pushing Samir Foch actually right up to the rear wing of Samir Foch. He needs to get on with it because Headwound is losing touch with Golzo. He needs to get Samir Foch right now and immediately in this lap. As we see right now, we're on board with Golzo. 3.9 the gap already, almost 4 seconds. Samir Foch right now, he has a bit of a gap as well to Headwound. He has almost 0.8 of a second over Headwound. So currently, look, as we're about to watch, the director is going to show us the replay onto the Villeneuve corner right now. We're about, it's green flag right now, Simon, and as they go.
This is the start into Tamburello.
Exactly.
One of the midfield drivers.
And we have already the spinner, obviously, there. We have already another spinner. Exactly, and a good tangle as well, with some damage onto those McLaren as well. Okay, Golzo still in first place, so, and Samir Foch is already 4 seconds behind Golzo and Headwound in P3.
Samir Foch is in one of those positions where he really, really needs to get his foot down and close that gap, because 4 seconds is going to take so long.
Golzo is still in first place with Samir Foch in second place, 4 seconds behind the leader Golzo. So Headwound in P3, 8 tenths of a second behind Samir Foch. Then there's a group of cars with Mahsoum, Szymanski, Purvins, Saristo and Newert in P8, and then Norton in the Porsche in P9, Kylie in the Audi P10, as we say, the Malowski in P10 right now, currently overtaking Kylie in the Audi as well. So both drivers in Audis, Malowski P10, obviously he's recovering from that first lap spin. That was a bad lap actually for Malowski, a good lap for Golzo, they came wheel to wheel with each other, and Golzo won that battle over Malowski. And obviously right there, Simon, in your head, when you have the leader and Positer obviously battling out with him, and you as the Positer managed to win that battle on Malowski, that's a big advantage, psychology as well.
It's one of those things where, knowing how close they were racing and watching your main rival at that corner spin off, Golzo is in one of those positions where he can see the massive gap behind him, and he's gained another second on Samir Foch. So he's in one of those positions where he just needs to drive his own race. He needs to not push too hard, he needs to not make any mistakes. If he can just coast to the end, he's got 25 minutes just to keep his car in a straight line, essentially.
And the thing is...
Meanwhile, we cut back to... sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
And the thing is, Malowski needs to get on with it. Right now, he's behind Ben Norton in the Porsche. And as we come up to the first of the West corners, he maybe thought about it, Malinowski. Sorry, but Norton just placed his car at the correct place on braking into the first West corner. Now we're going to come up to the start and finish straight. Let's stay on board with Malinowski as we get up to the start finish straight. Once again, another lap wrapped up as Malinowski right now on Norton. Side by side they go into the Tamburello chicane, and Malinowski managed to get Norton in the Porsche. So Malinowski in P9, Norton in the Porsche P10. That's P9 for Malinowski. An incredible recovery for Malinowski. Let's hope we get some more overtaking from Malinowski as we did already. So currently Golds on first place, 5.5 seconds Simon already on Samir Foch. Then Headwound, who needs to race Samir Foch as much as possible because he's 4/10 of a second behind him. And, Goldsaw is running away with this race. It's 5.5 seconds already.
Absolutely, and as we can see, Massum in fourth has a 10-second time penalty. I'm not sure if that's for track limits or maybe some contact somewhere. Haven't received word yet. Maybe we will in the future. But as you were saying, like Malinowski, who we're still on board with, he's really got that fire. He has a point to prove now. He's made the mistake. He has so much to make up for. His race is about damage control. He needs to get as far up as he can, and then obviously you have to remember the second race is very different. The second race, the top 10 are not going to be able to qualify. So the higher up he gets, the better. You don't really set yourself up better for the second race, but you're going to put yourself in a mindset where you're going into the second race a bit more confident because you have that higher finishing position. As we cut down to the lower end, ignore me, we'll cut back to the very front of the field with Sir Foch in second place. Not too far away, only half a second ahead of Headwind. And Headwind, in the next few laps, I'm not sure if he'll have a run on this lap. He's a bit too far behind to have a run into Tamburello. But he is on the pace, and he is, as I say that, he gets very, very close to the braking zone. He wants that second place spot. Headwind is going to do everything he can to force Sir Foch into a mistake, force him to maybe go a bit slower, take a defensive line where he doesn't want to. And the slightest opportunity, Headwind is going to jump into up the inside of Sir Foch.
And the thing is as well, the problem for Headwind is because he has Mahsoum behind him. Okay, yes, he has a time of 10 second time penalty, but obviously Mahsoum, the further up he goes, the 10 seconds obviously will diminish at the end of the race. So the problem for Headwind is he needs to get on with Sir Foch and race him hard, because as we are right now on board with Headwind, he has the mirrors filled up with Mahsoum. As we come down to the Acqua Minerale chicane, then up again to the Variante Alta chicane, so we have Sir Foch, who has almost a second on Headwind, Mahsoum in P4 currently pushing Headwind to catch Sir Foch as well. Goldsaw now is gone 6.5 seconds. We still have 22 minutes of racing, and Goldsaw might eat his tires really quickly, Simon, so we need to watch out for Goldsaw's racing pace. So we come down to the first of the Rivazza corners, as on the braking Mahsoum really gets close to Headwind. Then the second of Rivazza corner, and then we go up through the gears to the start-finish straight, and let's stay with these guys. Let's stay with these two incredible drivers. Headwind currently in P3, Mahsoum 10-second penalty in P4. Let's stay on board with him. Up to the start-finish straight. We go once again up to the Tamburello chicane. So Sir Foch in front of them. They have a good reference point actually, because Headwind knows where Sir Foch is weaks and strengths are in this race, and Mahsoum obviously knows, the pair of them, what their mistakes are. As Headwind right there, he just did a bit of mistake into the Villeneuve corner, and Mahsoum is ready to pounce on him at the lows a hairpin. That's the defensive line from Headwind. He just placed his Aston Martin perfectly, and let's come up to the Piratello corner as Mahsoum, side by side we go. Let's see who's going to break the later of the both of them. So Headwind still in P3, Mahsoum in P4. Let's stay on board with these incredible esports racers right now. So the thing is, Simon, the longer they are having this battle, as we see Mahsoum on board currently trying to wrestle that Ferrari, going with a happy tail actually, as we'd like to say. Mahsoum into the Variante Alta chicane. Now a bit of a gap between him and Headwind. As they are doing this, actually, Simon, Sir Foch is running away. He's already 1.2 seconds from Headwind.
You took the point right out of my mouth there. The more these drivers fight each other and have to take defensive lines, Sir Foch has created 1.2 seconds in a lap, maybe a lap and a half. This is the problem when you want to attack someone, but you just have a car that's a bit faster behind, maybe has a bit more pace, maybe you're using a bit more of the tires at this stage than you are. Kind of can't get into a habit of defending and slowing yourself down, because ultimately, Headwind wants to finish in second place. And this is Malinowski into 8th place. He's got another one. He's got past Wojtek Neuwirth. Unfortunately, we didn't see the move itself, but we'll come back to that. This is what we were mentioning earlier. Malinowski has a point to prove to himself and to probably everyone watching, where he just wants to finish as high as he can, and that's he's got the move done. So now he has to make sure he defends it, and he's not too far away from the car ahead in Oscar Saristo. We've seen him in previous events. As Oscar Saristo makes a mistake, that's going to gift Malinowski 7th place. as he drives round the outside into Toza. Again, a very much a gifted position, but still, it's everything he needs to do right now. Malonowski just needs to not make any more mistakes. If he does, and other drivers do, this is what's going to happen. That Audi is going to just keep climbing and climbing the order.
And he needs to get on with it. And also, poor Vince is not far away. So Malinowski in P7 after the first lap spin that he had with, as we see now, Headwound right now. Still in P3, Mahsoum trying everything he can to overtake Headwound. While they're doing that, Sir Foch has already 1.3 seconds on Headwound as Headwound and Mahsoum attack that Variante Alta chicane really hard. Both cars jumping around right now, and so we have Malinowski in P7 after that first lap spin, and poor Vince just up ahead of him. So 0.8 of a second between poor Vince and Malinowski. Let's hope the director catches up with Malinowski in P7. That's it. The direction right there is on point right now. Malinowski P7, behind him Sariston, the BMW P8. He just really gapped the BMW already, and onto the start finish straight we come once again for another lap. We still have Golso with on the 7th lap 7.8 seconds on the host of this
As
race.
you see, Oscar
Sir
Saristo and Wojtek Nowy going side by side. That's a
Oh,
contact,
that-
and they both spin off. That is 8th and 9th place, both spun out. Probably Norton is going to get both of them, unless I can. That's another spin.
That's another spin.
That's
for
so unfortunate
Saristo.
for him. Just a bit too trigger happy, trying to recover his car. Maybe a bit frustrated if he doesn't. It's one of those things when you have an accident like that, you never think it's your fault, or worse, you do think it's your fault. And either way, both drivers are going to be incredibly frustrated. And I feel like that's what you saw there. As now, Oscar Saristo is going to be down on the inside again. I believe that's Pensabo getting a place off him. Can he fight back? Ooh, because makes a mistake, slides the car, and Oscar Saristo keeps 13th place. Lucky for him, not as much of a hit from that spin as he could have taken. Only lost maybe 5 places, but obviously that's 5 places, it's a lot of time. We cut back to our leader, Golso, who is 8.2 seconds ahead of Sir Foch. He's been doing everything he needs to. Like, at this point, he's got the race completely under control. 16 minutes left. Almost half the race has gone by, and he's completely untouchable.
Yeah, let's hope obviously the fuel and the tires, obviously the fuel and tires keep up with the whole race, as obviously we see some beautiful slow-mo replays over here of Mahsoum and Headwound and Sir Foch as well. It's a beautiful angle actually.
Absolutely.
On the Variante Alta chicane, that super slow-mo on of the cars actually. Some of them
Our race director is going for the best picture, Oscar, we can see.
yeah, exactly. And obviously you can see the cars attacking that yellow curb, obviously. Golso currently in P1 is actually romping away with this race. 8.8 seconds on Sir Foch, then Headwound, Mahsoum, Szymanski, and poor Vince, and then Malinowski, who is catching poor Vince actually right now. We're on board with Ben Norton in the Porsche. And
9th place at the moment, got overtaken in the last few laps by Kylie. Probably got caught up in Neuwirth and Saristo's spin, because I did see him just on the corner right jump across the Tamburello chicane into the gravel. So might have lost the place there. Unfortunately for him, but he has gained 2 places. He's into 9th, where he was a bit further back earlier in the race. He's one of the drivers where, in the position he is, he's not going to be able to qualify for the second race. So if he doesn't have the pace of the 6-7 drivers ahead of him, he's not really going. He might be able to struggle to fight back through the field. Or he'll probably get past some of the solo drivers, the ones who maybe not as experienced or are struggling with their car and their setup. But if he does stay in this position, is he? Curse of the commentator, he slides it across Acquaminerale into the gravel. He's lost the position to Volodya there. Very unfortunate for him.
And that's the problem I was telling you before, Simon. You need a good braking stability when you exit the corner and then coming up to another corner. That's the braking stability for you. And unfortunately, obviously, Ben Norton has had a really big moment. Beautifully controlled, to be honest. But obviously, he lost the position to Volodya. We're still with Sir Foch in 2nd place. Then Headwood in 0.8 of a second behind him. And Mahsoum 0.7 of a second behind Sir Foch actually currently P4, so he must make a mistake somewhere. Sir Foch, let's hope the direction can catch up.
Yes, we cut back now to Purvinas in 7th, being overtaken by Szymanski. So these two racing very, very close together, and the more they fight, the more Malinowski is going to catch up. I think I may be correct.
That's Malinowski.
I am in fact completely mistaken. That is Malinowski getting past poor Vince.
Yeah,
So yeah, my
exactly.
mistake on that front. But yeah, that is
Mal-
Malinowski into P6. Very, very
No,
good.
no, no. I think Malinowski is still he's in P6.
He's
yes,
in P6.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he
He's
got
in P6.
past poor
He
Vince.
passed poor Vince actually on that lap. Well, so great recovery there by Malinowski. Now he has Szymanski up ahead of him, which is 1.1 seconds actually behind
So we
him.
did see there in the corner of your screen, Samir Foch is behind Masum and Hedlund.
That's it. We're on board with it right now. So Hedlund in P2, Masum in P3, Samir Foch in P4. So we must make a mistake somewhere, and let's hope we can get maybe a replay of it. We can.
Yeah. Samir
no
Foch,
problem.
obviously it's unfortunate to make a mistake, drop positions. He is kind of fortunate in the fact that Masum has a penalty, so
And that 10 seconds.
in
makes
his
it-
in his current situation, he's going to be gifted third place. But obviously, racing driver, he's not going to want to just sit behind Masum for the rest of the race.
yeah,
As you
we're
can see,
gonna-
yeah, he's already lining up an overtake. He's going to want to pass him as soon as possible.
Yeah, and
The
he's
longer he
well
stays
defended.
behind Masum, the longer he's not, the more time he's not pushing as hard as he can to catch Hedlund in second.
Yeah, Masum really it needs a good exit over here from the second Rivazza corner because Samir Foch is right behind him, as we see right now. Volodya and Kylie in. So we have Volodya and Kylie, one after each other, in the Audi and the Mercedes-Benz AMG. Let's. I hope we got obviously to the drivers up ahead because we're about to. That's it, and we have Masum in third place, and then Samir Foch in P4. Behind Mahsoum, right behind him actually, and obviously doing this, Szymanski and Malinowski, they're sort of there as well. We have 12 and a half minutes of racing still to go. So Mahsoum in P3 and then Samir Foch in P4, Szymanski, Malinowski, poor Vince, and we're on board right now with Volodya in the Mercedes-Benz AMG, who overtook actually Kylie in the Audi GT3 car. We are coming up to the Losa hairpin. Golds obviously he just ran away with this race. 10 laps into this race, 11.4 seconds over Hedlund and Mahsoum and Samir Foch. Then a bit of a gap, 1.5 seconds to Szymanski. Malinowski recovering brilliantly actually to P6 after that first lap spin. Maybe with that first lap he could have been still fighting with Goldzo, although I think Goldzo has a really good race pace. He didn't
Goldzo has signed a check and disappeared.
Exactly. Goldzo he just took the race the race lead into the first corner, into the Tamborella chicane, and just went completely onto his way.
Absolutely, he is absolutely dominating this race. It's very well deserved. If you are watching, please remember to like, subscribe, and follow Sir Foch on Twitch and YouTube. He does a lot of racing-related content, a lot of Assetto Corsa competition-only content. So, if you're into this type of thing, if you're watching what you're enjoying so far, make sure to give him a follow. But now back to the racing, which we're here for. Kun Sabo in 15th place, driving a pretty decent race for all things considered. He's not right at the front, but he's been driving pretty well. Every time we've come back to him, he's been kind of in his own space. What do you think he needs to do to really push and catch up to Neuvert and Saristo in front of him?
He's not that far actually from so he needs at this stage of the race, since we already sort of 10 and a half minutes still left of racing, so he needs if he got some tires left, he needs to push right now actually, because with 10 minutes left he can push actually his opponent to maybe either crash or eat up his tires as well. So as we cut right now to Szymanski and Malinowski in currently P6. So we caught up to Szymanski. Let's stay on board with Szymanski and Malinowski as they exited the Variante Alta, going downhill to the first of the two Rivazza corners. So we have Szymanski, Malinowski, and then Samir Foch in P4. P5 is Szymanski and Malinowski P6.
I wonder if Foch has some damage or maybe just a problem, had maybe made another mistake somewhere, because he's dropped a lot of time back to Mahsoum, and now Szymanski and Malinowski are right on him. This is a very, very thrilling three-car battle for fourth place at the moment. As you see, Mahsoum coming up to Hedlund, he's a lot closer than he has been in previous laps. The gap now just about 4 tenths, maybe a bit less as time goes on.
And
still a bit. I was gonna say he's still a bit too far back to make an overtake, especially in the Tamburello. He's not gonna make one into Villeneuve-Tosa, I don't think. But he's there and he has the pace.
Yes,
Obviously, Hedman makes maybe just a slight mistake, not enough to really cause a problem. But anything like that is really going to help Mahsoum get a chance to overtake.
And the thing is, Mahsoum is the car is swerving all over the place because obviously right now the tires they have chewed up a lot of their tire life already.
For
so
sure.
Hedwood is still in currently P2. So the advantage for Hedwood is obviously he doesn't know, but Mahsoum, I think my best guess is that he ate up already some of his tires because obviously the car is moving all over the place as we have some blue flags already for the back markers. Behind him is Samir Foch, Szymanski and Malinowski, who is currently in P6, recovering well from that first lap incident with Coulter, let's say that. So let's stay with Hedwood and Mahsoum as they come down to the first of the two Rivazza corners. They brake relatively the same, so they brake really good. They brake hard and coming down up as well to the second of the Rivazza corner. Mahsoum using all the track available and some, and obviously doesn't get a good exit from that corner up to the start finish stage. So we have Samir Foch, Szymanski right now, and obviously Malinowski, Szymanski on Samir Foch. Onto the start finish stage they go. Side by side they come. Samir Foch might have some trouble obviously here. Szymanski, let's hope who breaks the latest is going to be the winner on the Tamburello chicane. And Szymanski got Samir Foch. So Samir Foch P5. Szymanski
That was a brilliant move around the
P4.
outside of Tamburello. Szymanski takes P4 from Samir Foch. And now Samir Foch is coming under incredible pressure from Malinowski. He's going to go dive on the inside.
Oh, they touch as
Makes
well.
a bit of contact. Is it going to be another thing? Samir Foch losing 2 places. A minor touch from
He might-
Malinowski.
he might get
do
another
one.
from Porvins.
Is Porvins going to come driving right around the outside of Tozan? Maybe. As we cut to the other side of the tree, they're still side by side on the exit. I do think Samir Foch has got it, but the next corner is in Porvins. Porvins has the inside for the next corner. No, he doesn't.
No.
The next corner. Samir Foch is on the inside,
on the
and he
inside,
does
exactly.
keep his position.
Yeah,
Does
but
keep
the
his
thing,
position,
is,
but
the thing is the exit speeds of Samir Foch are really bad. So Porvins needs to get Samir Foch as soon as possible. As he breaks down hard. Look at how much he gained on the braking on Samir Foch. Porvins, let's stay on board with these two. So Samir Foch P6, P7 for Porvins. He needs that 6th place. He wants that 6th place. Coming down up to the Variante Alta chicane. A good exit speed from Porvins is all he needs as they go downhill to the first Rivazza corners. Downhill they come, up through the gears they come. They brake hard onto the first of the Rivazza corners. Still Samir Foch in front of Porvins. Let's stay on board with him. Porvins pushing Samir Foch into a mistake. He's going to push him all the way to the start finish straight. So Samir Foch P6, Porvins P7. We come up to the start finish straight as we round up lap 13 to the 14th lap. Porvins, we're on board with him right now. He gets a good slipstream. Currently in 6th gear right now. Up to 260 kph, 270 kph. Braking hard into the Tamburello first chicane. So Samir Foch still in first place, wrestling that Ferrari. As you see Porvins on board, wrestling as well his Bentley GT3 car. They come up to the Villeneuve chicane. As in front of them, Malinowski and Szymanski still fighting it for P5 as well. As Porvins, he just missed out on that
Dipped the wheel to the
curb over
gravel,
there.
didn't he? He's pushing so hard trying to get Samir Foch. Unfortunately, doing that, he's just giving that little bit of a breathing gap to Samir Foch. And now he's gonna have to have the overspeed to close the gap and then overtake. It's gonna be very difficult with only 5 minutes left. We cut back to a bit further down the order with Ryan Cooper in 18th place. Kind of over. Never mind, we'll cut back to the front with Sanevsky and Malinowski racing very, very hard for 4th place. Malinowski has a 5-second penalty, unfortunately, so his good work is going to be undone a little bit if he can't make it far enough up the road from Samir Foch and Porvins back there. But as he come through the chicane, Malinowski really, really does need to get a move on now, especially with that penalty. He needs to get in front and build a gap. If he can't do that, he's going to drop down the order come the end of the race. There's only 4 minutes left to go. Time is running out as they enter the Rivazza turn 1 and then the final corner. It's a very good exit if he wants to get a chance down the front straight. It does look like he's got it. He's right in the slipstream of Szymanski. He's going to pull to the outside before they even reach the timing beam. Side by side, coming down the front straight. It's going to be very interesting into Tamburello. We saw last laps Purvins go around the outside of Samir Foch. This time, can he do the same thing? And Malinowski just hangs around, but Simon has to touch it a little bit. Sends Malinowski across the gravel. Gonna have to give that position back, unfortunately, but there was contact, so I assume us stewards will have we'll have to take a look at that. But Szymanski keeps P4 for now. Malinowski just behind him in P5. Samir Foch has caught back up so much. They've been fighting so hard. As you see, Samir Foch just needs to let back end a little bit, maybe pushing a bit too hard, got a bit excited. As they enter Toza around the long hairpin. Szymanski doing well to keep Malinowski behind him so far. Samir Foch not too far back. As we cut back to Medvedevas, making a mistake getting some contact with the cars around him. That is Pokorova and Saristo that he might be fighting against at the moment until the timing beam updates itself. Medvedevas, again, he's one of the drivers. We've seen a lot of him this race, but maybe just not have the pace of the front runners.
Yes, we got back to Szymanski and Malinowski and Mahsoum over there. Szymanski on Mahsoum, they're coming, they side by side onto the chicane. They have contact as well. So Samir Foch just overtook both of them, the pair of them. So Samir Foch is currently now in P4 with Szymanski and Malinowski still battling out. All four of them coming down to the Dervatsa corners. Samir Foch in P4, and then Szymanski and Malinowski and Purvins are all in the battle for P4.
This is an extremely thrilling battle for what's now become fourth place with all four drivers. And this is let that overtake be a lesson. Going around the outside of Variante Alta is not a very easy thing to do. As Samir Foch is now leading these four very aggressive drivers down into Tamburello. Is Szymanski going to have a dive? Is he close enough? No, he's not. One of the further cars going to have a dive. No, they're all in line as they come through Tamburello. That is a slide from Malinowski. It's going to give Purvins a chance coming into the entrance to Vilna.
They have contact as well. I think Purvins and Malinowski touch. So Samir Foch P4, Szymanski P5. Purvins overtook Malinowski on the outside in his Bentley, still side by side.
Malinowski keeps it pinned around the outside of Villeneuve. Coming into Toza, Malinowski keeps his position ahead of Purvins in P6
and let's see also
at the moment.
Samir Foch and Szymanski, they're battling out for P4, and obviously Mahsoum has the 10-second penalty. So Mahsoum is not currently, that's currently in P3, but aggregate, he will end up maybe in P8 instead of Volodya. So we have Malinowski, P6, and Purvins right behind him.
Go back to back, Tommy Henriksen. We saw him at the very start of the race get a bit of damage on his front nose from hitting a car that was spinning. Very unfortunate for him. Obviously, we're not sure how much that would be affecting his race, affecting his car handling. But he is a bit at the back of the field, unfortunately. We'll get a nice little respite from that very thrilling battle. I say that, we got back to Kansava in a battle with Melis. Again, these two driving for 16th and 17th place position at the moment, as Melis makes a mistake, runs wide. And that's all we see of that as we cut to our race leader, Goldsaw, also known as Jason Lurs. Again, I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, but in case you're wondering why there are two different names, we're not sure. We feel like it might be a glitch of the game or some setting that's been not quite right. But they are the same driver, Goldsaw and Lurs, so don't worry about that.
Let's hope we got also back down to second place, who is Mahsoum right now. Had won Samir Foch and Szymanski, and Malinowski and Purvins. They're all fighting for P4 right now. So Mahsoum in second place. He overtook Hedwond and currently gapping him. And right now, so that's a back marker over there. So Szymanski P5 in front of him. P4. That's fourth place for Samir Foch. Both of these are currently on. One of them could end up on the podium because obviously Mahsoum has a 10-second time penalty for maybe cutting the track. That's track limits, obviously, of course. To the leader right now, Goldsaw, who has this race under control, and obviously, assuming he won't make another mistake, that's the win for him. So let's enjoy this final lap with Goldsaw, who comes down to the first of the Dervatsa corners, and then the second of the Dervatsa corners.
Coming up to the final corner, he has been absolutely untouchable this race. He's done so well. He's rounded the final corner. There's literally nothing left for him to do. All he has to do is keep his foot pinned to the floor as he comes up to the final. As he comes up to the checkered flag, he has driven an incredible race. Lights the flag victory. Well done to Goldsaw. That is the definition of dominance. As we cut back now, Mahsoum is going to cross the line in second, but he has a 10-second penalty. He's not going to keep that position. Hedvund in third place. will Edwin in third at the moment, will finish in second. We'll have to wait a few moments to see just how far that 10-second penalty is going to affect Marsum. At the moment, he might pop out maybe around 8th or 9th, around the Volodya Norton territory. Probably closer to Volodya. Very interesting to see, but this is the battle that we should cut back to now. Samir Foch finishes 4th place ahead of Szymanski, as Malinowski and Purvins do finish 6th and 7th. Volodya now crossing the line in 8th. Malinowski also has a 5-second penalty. He's also going to be dropping further back. Edwin, that was a very, very thrilling race, don't you think?
It was a good one, and let's hope we get another good race on the second race as well, on race 2. So, as we said, obviously, the first 10 finishers, except obviously the penalties that we have, they're gonna stay as the order they finished. Obviously, excluding the penalties. Obviously, we had the penalties as well.
Slight correction there. The 10 who don't qualify, because of course it doesn't really have like a reverse grid function or anything, they just won't qualify. So the order they start in won't be the way they finish here, but they will all start in some order at the very, very bottom of the grid. So they will occupy positions 15th to 25th, unless we have some disconnections or something along those lines. But if the same amount of drivers continue into race 2, the top 10 will start from 15th to 25th, while the top 15, well, the bottom 15 drivers, the ones who finished 15th to 25th, oh, sorry, 10th to 25th, will have a second qualifying session to see who can gun it out for that pole position. So, we've seen race 1. We've seen Goldsaw absolutely dominate and only build his lead every single lap. And we saw a lot of very, very fast drivers. Some making mistakes, some battling. How do you think the second race is going to go now that those really, really fast drivers are going to be dumped right at the back? They're going to have overtaking to do. They have to dodge out of the way of traffic while also racing each other. As we saw, they're very, very closely matched in terms of pace. What do you think might happen?
Well, Goldsaw obviously has judging by the race 1, race pace is really, really good. But obviously, as I said before, Simon, from race 1 to race 2, there's some time obviously that you need to make up, and there's also another qualifying session, and you need to keep your head down, you need to keep your focus, and some of the drivers need to take care more about their tires and brakes. Samir Foch, for example, he was in P2 for most of the race, and then ended up losing some positions because obviously tires worn out. Obviously, he gained some positions because others like Malinowski and Szymanski made mistakes as well. But nonetheless, one of the drivers who needs to take care of the tires is Samir Foch. And one of the drivers who benefited most is Malinowski and Szymanski, because race pace was there, and by that mistake they had at the Variante chicane, the Variante Alta chicane, they could have ended up in 4th place and 5th place, but obviously as they tangled around, Samir Foch got their place. But nonetheless, they kept the race pace high, and hats off obviously to Goldsaw for making those tires and the fuel last the whole race without losing any time actually to the opponents.
For sure. I think if we're talking about looking forward into race 2, who might impress us, who might put on a show in terms of overtaking, we've kind of already seen Malinowski fight his way through the field. Like, he started in P2, but obviously very first corner, maybe tapped Goldsaw, we're not really too sure, but he just spun round and was dumped right to the middle of the pack, and then clawed back. I think at one point he was running in 11th place. So to be fighting for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th position, and I think in the end finishing 6th before penalties, we're not sure where he would have filled out with penalties, but if he can do that again, and if he can keep his race clean so he doesn't get any penalties, he's already proven he can overtake. He's already proven to be an incredible racer, and he has that racecraft abilities to put his car right where he needed to make an overtake stick. If he can do that again, I feel like he might have, at the current moment, I feel like he's the one who I'd put my money on of those top 10 to really fight through the field and fight through the field quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another very, very strong finish from him.
When starting from the bottom half of the driver field, and you can't say anything. Actually, anything could happen because obviously this is racing. And starting from the bottom half, you could maybe spin again. Let's hope not, obviously, because he already spun on lap 1, which to me I didn't even see any contact. Actually, he just spun around in his own car.
Definitely. Well, we're going to have the second qualifying session in just a few moments. Until then, we're going to take a short break. So please come back and join us. If you really liked race 1, you're going to love race 2, I guarantee it.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Welcome back. Here we have the beginning of our second qualifying session. The cars that you see in front of you are just starting their outlaps, so we're going to cut straight into the action. If you weren't tired before, this is going to be another very, very exciting qualifying session, as we only have the finishers from 11th place downwards competing. The top 10 drivers the top 10 finishers in the first race are not going to be competing, so they will be starting the race 2 with a little bit of a handicap. Edwin, we've spoken a lot about the top 10 drivers of the previous race. We followed them for most of the time. They were engaged in some incredible battling. But how do you think now that the focus for this session is on the second half of the drivers, who do you think might impress us in this qualifying session?
Well, one of the drivers who might impress us is Poco Robba, because he finished the race in 12th place after he did some maybe 2 hot laps in the previous qualifying session. Obviously, qualifying 2 is shorter than the first qualifying session. We only have 5 minutes of running. In qualifying 2, right now, we still have 3.5 minutes of running. So the drivers only have time for 2 hot laps only. So one of the drivers that will I think will impress me is Poco Robba. Saying that, oh no, he's in the, sorry. So obviously he stayed in the pits because some of the drivers had time penalties. So
oh right, he might have.
By that, obviously he got P10. So that's why. So Tabor right now is currently in professional pole position with 143.202. Obviously, you see the difference between the current drivers and the top 10 finishers. Obviously, we had lap times that were 140.
Yeah.
So sub 141, the low 140s. So you see the lap times different from those current 10 finishers and the other bottom half.
Definitely. Someone who we saw a little bit of in the first race over here, Archerias Medvedevas, currently in second place. He was leading just a moment ago, but Asta Saristo said a really, really good time. 0.8 of a second ahead into the 141.9s. Very good left from Oscar Saristo, who, again, was running in the top 10 until he made contact with Wojtek Neuwirth, spun out and spun down the grid a little bit. So he is now eligible for this bottom half of this qualifying session. And I think I don't want to say he's a safe bet, but I think he's one of the ones who I can kind of rely on to give us a really good performance both in the qualifying session and the race. He was running in maybe the top half of the grid earlier on, only really fell back into this bottom 15 because of a mistake. So I think he's going to be one to watch for pole position and through the race as well. As we now cut to Marcian Tabor, who was driving at the lower end of the grid for most of the first race. So it'll be interesting to see now there is more of a spotlight on him and on these drivers. What can he do compared to what we saw in the first qualifying session in terms of lap time. Currently, he sits 1.25 seconds behind. As we see, I believe this is a screenshot from one of... that is a monkey? Edwin, what's your take on that image right there? Oh, that's going to haunt my nightmares. Jesus. Oh, thank you so much, director, for A, finding us that, and B, even more so, for getting it off our screens. Thank you so much.
See, one of the drivers that we didn't mention but did a really good race in race 1 is Kylie, who is currently in 3rd place, 3/10 behind the current now professional pole sitter, who is Saristo once again. So the battle is between Saristo, Kunzabo and Kylie in the Audi GT3 car. Medvedevas in the Ferrari is in 4th place. Then Slow, who is not slow enough actually because he's in 5th place in the Aston Martin. So Saristo, the BMW, who did a really impressive race actually in race 1. Yes. We see some good battles from Saristo. Obviously he dropped back because he made a mistake, but he did a really good race in race 1. He is currently leading the pack with 141.777 seconds on and 2/10 on Kunzabu, and then Kylie with half a second, and then Tangai with 8/10 of a second.
Qualifying session, 3 seconds to go, 2-1, and it is over. This is going to be the final qualifying laps. Whatever they do in this session is what's going to count. If they can't go faster than their already times, this is the time they're going to set. Yeah. Oscar Cerezo currently in provisional pole position with Kunzaba only 1.7 tenths behind. The gaps are not massive, as we say that. Melis has put it into 3rd place, 3 tenths behind. That's a very, very good lap from him. But there are going to be a lot more cars to come. As we're currently on the board with Kunzaba, he's currently in P2. Only 1 tenth behind. He's coming into Ravazza. Into the final corner now. He has to be careful not to dip a wheel into the gravel. We've seen it so many times. He gets a very, very good exit. He's coming up to the timing line. What's he going to do? Can he take P1? Kylie has put it into provisional pole position as we've been watching Kunzaba. Kunzaba crosses the line. He goes into provisional pole position by 0.03 of a second. Oscar Cerezo is not on track. He's in the pits, so Oscar Cerezo is only 3rd place. We cut now to Christopher Tangai, currently in 6th place. He's 9 tenths behind Kunzaba. As we cut to Mario Skerhut. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that. He's in 13th, 2.4 seconds behind the leaders. He made a mistake, maybe just couldn't get a clean lap together. Unfortunately for him, he is on the lower end of the field. Tangai now, P6. He's run the final corner. He gets a pretty good exit as he comes up to the timing line. What's he going to do? Can he improve from 6th place? Can he challenge the top 5? Comes across the line. Not really. He stays in 6th. So Kunzaba on pole position. Like another very, very thrilling qualifying session. Significantly closer than we saw from the first one. And we saw 2 drivers in Kunzaba, Oscar Cerezo and Kylie really, really make the most use out of their time. Very limited time, honestly, in just a 7-minute qualifying session. Was this maybe the result you were expecting, judging from the first race, or did you think someone else might have jumped up the order?
No, it was the result that I was expecting. Kunzabo, obviously, what an amazing lap he did. The pressure was on him because obviously he needed to deliver from 3rd place because obviously Kylie took obviously 2nd place off him. So what a job he did, Kunzabo, for taking that pole position. And obviously we hope for a good race pace as well, and that's what we're here for actually. But the top 10 in the bottom 10 right now, the top 10 finishers from race 1 on the bottom 10 of the starting grid for race 2. So an incredible turn of events. We didn't know that it's going to be a reverse grid sort of order, and it is. Yeah. It's the reverse 10 finishers. So we didn't know that. We thought it might be the first 10 that stayed in top 10. So what an exciting race up ahead with Kunzabo pole position, Kylie, and then obviously Saristo in 3rd place. That's going to be one hell of a race start.
Absolutely. And you know, we talk a lot about like those top 3 drivers. They're going to be the ones to watch right out the gate. However, the race is going to start up in a few seconds. If you're watching at home, you can watch on ESTV, Motorsport.tv, and TVM Sport. Those are the channels currently helping us working. And for those of you who maybe have missed the beginning of our broadcast, we are streaming the community event for Sir Foch's Twitch stream. He is a very, very interesting YouTuber and streamer. Does a lot of racing-related videos on Assetto Corsa and other games. Absolutely give him a follow. He is very, very entertaining. More entertaining than us, for sure. We're going to take a very short break, and then we're going to cut right back into race 2. Kunzaba is on pole position ahead of Kylie and Oscar Cerezo, so be sure to join us for that.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are gearing up for our second race of the night. In our first race, we saw Goldsaw take a very commanding victory. And now we just have our second qualifying session with Kansaba putting it on pole ahead of Kylie and Oscar Saristo. Quinn, we've talked a lot about what we're expecting from this race. We said that the top three drivers were kind of the ones we thought might do well in the qualifying session. A race is a completely different ball game. Do you think these same three drivers in the top three might have the best chance of winning, or do you think, like we saw in race one, there could be some mistakes or accidents that change up the order?
I think so, and I think for a good reason actually, because the race is 30 minutes long. So either Goldsaw needs to get on with it, and or else he doesn't even have that time to do for 30 minutes a whole race.
I agree. As now we cut straight to the action on track. This is the formation lap, and so the drivers are all going to take one lap to warm up the tires, warm up their brakes, before we have a rolling start, which will kick off race number 2. Edwin, is there any... The top 10 finishers from the second race are now starting at the back. We see Sir Foch starting 15th position, ahead of him, behind Volodya and Edwin. These are all... The final 10 have kind of jumbled up. Who do you think from those bottom 10 cars might have the best chance of fighting through the field?
Well, the thing is, obviously the finisher from race 1 is obviously last. So he's going to have one hell of a job to do, actually, to come through the field in a 30-minute race. So my best guess is that Gonzabo and Kylie and Saristo, they have a good chance to win this race and run away through the race, and they have good race pace as well. Obviously not the same race pace as Goldso in 21st place, but as I said again, Goldso's in 21st place, so he has 20 more places to overtake from race 2 in a 30-minute race. So that's a hell of a job to do, actually, as we come up to the downhill into the Variante Alta, and obviously we're still waiting for cars. They're obviously going into a slow pace. They need to go in a slow pace to warm up tires, to warm up their brakes as well, get everything up to perfect running temperatures. And as we see, obviously Gunzab right now weaving left and right, trying to get heat into those tires. And obviously you need to get heat into those tires by weaving, and of course braking as well, because heat from the brakes, it goes up into the tires, and obviously by putting pressure on the front tires, you heat them up even more. And you need good heat in those brakes and tires, because the first Tamburello chicane is not far away from the start-finish straight.
And as we see, there's a bit of a gap now from Gonzalo to Kylie behind. They're coming up to the final two corners into the two Ravazza corners. The field, by the nature of the rolling show, is going to bunch up a lot now as the AI takes over and the cars just get ready for the start. It's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, in the last race, we had the front two drivers keep right side by side into Tamburello, and the car on the inside made a mistake. If we see the same thing in this race, we could end up with one of the top two drivers falling back and having to fight through, like we saw. We hope not. We hope these drivers manage to keep everything clean and manage to kind of continue battling for the positions they're in throughout the race. As we come up to the starting grid now, you can almost feel the energy in the drivers themselves, like this anticipation. Right coming out of the line, it's this great moment of dread. The 5 red lights are on. They're just waiting for the green flag to drop, as we all are. It's only a few seconds away now. We're waiting, and now the green flag would have dropped just about the next few seconds.
Yeah, we're coming up to the line.
There it is. There's the green flag.
There's the green flag.
Gonzaba and Kylie leading the way. Kylie seems to have a better launch. Does seem to be leading ahead of Gonzaba into turn 1, but Gonzaba has the inside line. He's going to keep that inside line. Kylie goes round the outside into Tamburello, has the inside for the second part of the chicane, and does get the move done. Kylie into P1 ahead of Gonzaba. Oscar Saristo is going to look for that second place as well. He's pulling alongside into the Villeneuve chicane. Behind them, there seems to be everyone's pretty clean. Gonzaba keeps his second place. Oscar Saristo retains his third place as well. And yeah, from the looks of it, as I say that, there is a car going to turn 2 or 3 cars cutting across the gravel traps. Anyway, Kylie has done everything he needed to do. He's gotten to P1. He's gotten ahead of Gonzaba. As Gonzaba is now getting attacked by Saristo, Kylie might be in a perfect position to just drive away like Goldso did in the previous race.
Yeah, Kylie is in a good position right now, as we see right. Melis on Tungai right now, on Malvadevesas, sorry, and Melis is in P7, Medevevas in P6, and Kylie is still in first place. Gonzabo second place, Saristo in third place, Newert is in 4th place, Tangai is 5th, Medvedevas in the Ferrari is in 6th place. They go side by side with Medvedevas and I think Medvedevas who's spinning in the Variante Alta chicane. So Malinowski currently in 12th place. Malinowski, what a great start for him.
He was in 23rd position. He's gotten one of the best starts of this field. He's into 14th. That is an incredible job. Goldsaw also into 13th.
15. Goldsaw and
Malinowski has jumped Goldsaw, which is something that we didn't see in the opening race. Someone's running live there.
Someone off there, and obviously Goldsaw got him at the exit. Goldsaw right now is in P14. Malinowski is in P12 right now. Goldsaw is in 13th place. We cut to the
This is the battle for the lead. This is Kylie and
Gonzabo. Kylie in first place, Gonzabo in second place, and Saristo in third place. Behind them is Newert in 4th place. We got back to Henriksen, and then behind
someone gets shoved off the track.
Poor Vince. And
it's all over the road.
It's a mayhem, obviously, in the midfield. Henriksen currently in 8th position. And Porcorobba just made a huge mistake in the AMG GT3 car. Henriksen got table as well. We got back now. This is the bottom end of the field with Squirt and Headwound in currently in 21st position. Then Norton in 23rd. Melis as well. We got back to Melis and Porcorobba in the AMG GT3 car. Henriksen in front of them in 8th position. Let's hope we get back to Kylie and Gonzalo, because that battle is going to be amazing throughout the whole race, I think. So Goldsaw right now, the race victor of the first race, is currently in 15th place with Slow in front of him in 14th place. Then Melis 13th, then Szymanski in 12th place. Once again, what a great shot this is. Coming down to the Variante, to the Rivazza corners, 1 and 2. We thank also the director of the camera angles, which is Nathan, who is doing a great job actually directing us onto these great shots there. And I see Goldsaw right now is currently in 13th place. As we see another driver there who is stuck in the gravel. He just binned it into the gravel trap. And let's hope we get a replay to who might be. This is Kylie. Kylie in first place. Gonzalo in second place. Gonzalo just snaps the steering of that Lexus GT3 car. So Kylie pushing Gonzalo, pushing Kylie into a mistake. We're coming up to the Villeneuve chicane and then the Tosa corner. Let's stay on board with Gonzalo right now. Braking hard. First gear for Gonzalo. Coming the uphill right now to the Piratella corner and then the Accomunale corners. On board with Gonzalo. Kylie in first place. Gonzalo and then Saristo pushing, all three pushing for that first place and lead of the race. Gonzalo right now currently in second position, but in front of him is the leader of the race. Kylie in the Audi GT3 car, and then Lexus, and then the BMW, and then Newart in the Aston Martin GT3 car. Let's stay on board with Kylie and Gonzalo.
This is absolutely incredible battle for the lead. These four cars are so evenly matched.
It is incredible. Gonzalo trying to find a way to overtake Kylie. I'm hardly taking a breath in this battle. Kylie in first place, Gonzalo in second place. We go down to the first of the Rivazza corner. Braking hard from fifth gear down to second gear for Oscar Soristo. They come up now to the second of the Rivazza corners. Up through the gears to the start from the straight they go. We end lap 2 and we start lap 3. Let's stay on board with these guys. Kylie, Gonzalo and Oscar Saristo, who's getting a good slipstream from Gonzalo, and in front of him Kylie as well. Kylie in first place, Gonzalo second place, Saristo in
Gonzalo
third
has a
place.
straight line speed. Gonzalo has significantly higher straight line speed than the other.
Oh, Gonzalo made a mistake.
Gonzalo
He
was
made a
cutting across the
mistake.
driver.
Then
Oscar
this one
Saristo
was going to take Oscar Soristo takes second place from Saristo, and Saristo also loses a place to Newart as well. Sorry, Gonzalo loses a place to Newart as well. So Gonzalo, in a space of 2 corners, went from second place down to fourth place. Now it's up to Saristo to take the lead away from Kylie in the BMW GT3 car against the Audi GT3 car. We come up from the Tosa corner up to the Piratella corner. Kylie in first place, Saristo in second place. Let's see who's going to break the latest from these two. So Kylie still remaining in P1 and Saristo in second place. We come down to the Accomunale corner as Saristo trying to push Kylie into a mistake. We go uphill to the Variante Alta. Let's see what's going to happen from here on. So Kylie in first place, Saristo trying to show where he is into the mirrors of Kylie. What a great shot this is of the Variante Alta chicane. Let's go down. We catch up to the leaders once again. Kylie in the Audi GT3 car in first place, currently leading this race from Oscar Soristo. Oscar Soristo shows his car once again to the rear view mirrors of
Oscar Soristo needs
Luca
to get a
Kylie.
very, very good exit now into the final Rivazza. He's going to have a long run all the way down to the Tamburello.
He needs it
from
from here
start
on.
finish straight. Doesn't seem like at the current moment Kylie doesn't have the jump in the straight line speed department, but Oscar is going to have slips all the way down this very, very long straight. Doesn't seem to be closing too much. He might be a bit too far back to have a dive into Tamburello.
The thing is, Kylie has a really good exit speed from the final Variante final Variante 2 corner up to the Tamburello chicane, and that gives the chance for Kylie to get that bit of a gap from Oscar Soristo. As we see once again, Oscar Soristo side by side with Luca Kaili. They go. Luca Kaili just braked a little bit later from Oscar Soristo, and he keeps that lead of the race. This battle will keep on going as Oscar Soristo shows that car once again to Luca Kaili. Luca Kaili still in first place, leading the pack from Oscar Soristo, Newart, and then coming up to them and caught up to them is Gunzabo, who spun around in lap 2 at the final, at the beginning of lap 2, and recovered well to be behind and race hard these two leaders. Kaili once again still leading the pack, putting his car in the perfect places so Oscar Soristo can't overtake. Let's see what's going to happen right now. Luca Kaili needs to go defensive once again, but not again right now. Luca Kaili just has a good, better exit speed of the Variante of the Minerali, and obviously down to the Variante Alta, keeps that lead of the race. Now a bit of a gap to Oscar Soristo. Oscar Soristo needs to find some time back to Luca Kaili. Luca Kaili, 2/10 of a second on Oscar Soristo. Newart and Gunzabo in 4th place. We come up to end the 4th lap, and we start the 5th lap of the race. Luca Kaili in 1st place. 2nd place, Oscar Soristo, Newart, and then Gunzabo.
Oscar Soristo is in a very interesting position because on one hand he wants to push as hard as he can to catch Kaili, but at the same time he needs to save his tires, he needs to conserve his fuel. He's being trapped behind the car, he is going to be affected by the dirty air. But he can't do that too much because there's Neuwirth right there, less than 3/10 behind. He's in a very, very precarious position, as is Neuwirth with Gonzalo close behind as well. But Oscar Soristo, that'll be inside into Villeneuve. He's got Kaili done. Can Kaili keep it into the second part? No, he cannot. Oscar Soristo is into the lead of the race. Kaili makes a mistake. Is that going to give Neuwirth a look into Toza? Just about, but Kaili shuts the door very aggressively. Very good defending from Kaili there. Gonzalo wants to get involved, but he can't really do anything at the moment. Oscar Soristo leads the second race, ahead of Kaili, ahead of Neuwirth. As we cut a bit further back, this is Purvins fighting against. I don't think. Yes, I do think it's Szymanski. That's Szymanski or Korobba.
As we say that, Simon, with 20 minutes and 30 seconds to go, Malinowski is in 7th place.
We mentioned earlier that he will be a one to watch, someone who can cut through the field, can overtake. He's really good at wheel-to-wheel contact.
And the winner from race 1 is currently in 13th place. So what an amazing job by Malinowski with a gap of 1.1 seconds from Cooper in the Bentley in 6th place. What an amazing job by Cooper as well in 6th place. Currently having okay,
so we're going to cut to a replay of Goldsaw, who won the first race. Let's see what he's been up to. Racing against other cars, into Variante. Oh, he spins! Oh, that's so devastating for him. Is he going to hit the wall? Just a very minor tap. Might have a little bit of damage, might not. That would be why he's so far down the order, why he hasn't been making as much progress as Malinowski. As we cut him here, there he is on track now with cars racing around behind him, cars racing in front of him. Norton and Medvedev racing behind him.
I hope the direction also catch up with the leaders as well, because Oscar Soristo is only 2/10 of a second behind Luca Kaili.
Luca Kaili is in the lead.
Luca Kaili is in the lead, and someone is off. Someone is off, and
that's Neuwirth. Soristo and Neuwirth have made a mistake. Gonzalo is back into 2nd place behind Kaili. I don't know what happened to Soristo. He is jumping down the order. He's in 7th at the moment. Maybe a bit further, we're not sure. Behind Malinowski, Gonzalo and Neuwirth. Neuwirth manages to keep his 3rd place, even though he had a massive running fight moment of his own.
What an amazing battle between Gonzalo and Kaili. I didn't even expect it during the qualifying session for race 2. We stay on board with Gonzalo. We come up to the Variante Piratella, breaking hard right now. So Luca Kaili still in P1. George Gergerli, Gonzalo in 2nd position. Then Neuwirth in 3rd position. Then Tangai in 4th position. Then Cooper.
Kaili has made a mistake. He's run a bit wide. He's going to give Gonzalo a brilliant run.
Gonzalo side by side right now. Side by side to the Variante Alta. Gonzalo takes 1st place and the lead of the race into the Variante Alta chicane. That's an amazing job by Gonzalo. Luca Kaili with that mistake in 2nd position. Now let's come down to the first of the Variante Rivazza corners. Gonzalo in 1st place and Luca Kaili in 2nd place. We've seen this battle before in the first corner. Tangai right now on Neuwirth for 3rd place. What an amazing job by Tangai in
Tangai drops to 4th. He might drop to 5th as well.
Exactly.
Malinowski does get 4th place off Tangai. Is he going to lose another place?
He is
behind. They're currently side by side going into Tamburello.
He is. They're fighting
Cooper
out.
squeezed a little bit. But
Oh.
Tanguy has the slipstream of Malinowski and of Neuwirth. He is in the best position. And in fact, he does keep the position so far. As Malinowski goes up the inside of Neuwirth and Cooper goes up the inside of Tanguy.
What an
Malinowski
amazing
makes the
job.
move done. Malinowski is into P3 as Cooper gets around the outside of the second part of Tamburello and gets Tanguy. So
What an amazing
your running
job.
order at the moment is Consabo in leading ahead from Kylie. As we're going to get a replay of Kylie, as I just mentioned them. Malinowski's in P3 and Neuwirth P4.
That's worth this
As we
because
cut
this
back
is
to
amazing.
Kylie.
Because this is, oh, they touched.
Kylie has been hit.
They touched.
That is the problem that caused them. Kylie was hit by Saristo, who was spun around by Neuwirth. So Kylie at some point would have gotten past Oscar Saristo, who was at one point leading. He's not anymore. Now Oscar Saristo is in 7th place.
And luckily for him, Luca Kylie, he still stayed with that tangle. He still stayed at that moment in first place, leading the race. Now Gonzabo leads the race from Luca Kylie, 0.3 of a second behind them. Actually, right now they need to update the timing sheets need to be updated because obviously there's not 0.3. Gonzabo is leading the race by maybe a tenth. That's
Less than
half
a
a car
tenth
out. He
now.
missed the chicane. What an exit from Luca Kylie. Luca Kylie in the slipstream of Gonzabo, coming down to the Variante Rivazza 1 and then Rivazza 2. Luca Gonzabo, first place. Luca Kylie shows the car in the rear view mirrors of Gonzabo, but stays ahead. Gonzabo stays ahead of Luca Kylie. We come up from the last corner into the start for the straight. That's lap 7 gone. We come up to start lap 8 as we still have 60 minutes of pure incredible racing. Gonzabo leads the race from Luca Kylie in the slipstream of Gonzabo. Let's stay on board with Luca Kylie and see who breaks first for the Tamburello chicane. That's a great breaking point for Gonzabo, but he gets it a bit wide. Gonzabo takes the corner a bit wide. Luca Kylie in the slipstream of Gonzabo. Let's stay on board with him. Coming up to the Villeneuve chicane and then the Tosa hairpin. Luca Kylie in second place. Gonzabo leading the race by a tenth from Luca Kylie. A great exit from Gonzabo gives him the advantage he needs from the Tosa corner up to the Piratella corner. So Gonzabo
What's
first
interesting
place.
about watching these two races, that Consabo's Lexus does seem to have a bit more straight line speed than Kylie's Audi, but the Audi is better in the corners, so it's going to be a very frustrating race for Kylie because the best overtaking spot is off of the long straight into Tamburello. As you see them coming here through Acqua Minerale, gorgeous camera shots. Thank you again, Nathan Vella. You do an absolutely bang-up job. We're loving every single one of them.
And the thing
As you
is
see,
for-
these top two battling, there are only 4 tenths between them. Into Acqua Minerale, into Variante Alta, my apologies.
And the thing is for Gonzabo, his exit speed is much better than Luca Kylie, and that gives him the edge down, for example, to the Rivazza 1 and the Rivazza 2. His exit speed is much better than Luca Kylie. Luca Kylie seems to be struggling at the exit of the corners. In fact, even during braking, his car seems unstable, moving a bit around here and there. Gonzabo
runs a bit
more
wide
stable.
though into the first of the Rivazza corners.
And
Does
that-
not have a
that-
good enough exit. This could
and
be Kylie's chance. If he gets into the slipstream, if he can keep it pinned right all the way down the back straight, he might be able to get a run if he has the overspeed.
The thing is, look at Gonzabo. Gonzabo gets even though he gets a bad exit, the faster agile Lexus is better at the corner speed at the exit of the corner than Luca Kylie's Audi GT3 car. So
This must be a very frustrating battle for Kylie because, like
He
you say,
knows.
the best overtaking spots are after long straights, and that's just where the Lexus has a bit more legs on him.
And the thing is, he knows he has the race pace to maybe win the race, but also behind them in third place is Malinowski. The non-qualifier for race 2 is in third place. What a great job. And the winner from race 1 right now, Goldsoft, is in 10th place with the Lexus GT3 car.
It really can't be understated just how well Malinowski has done to cut through the field, because behind him, the closest top 10 finisher is Szymanski in 8th, and then Massimo and Goto behind them, and then Samir Foch as well.
And the thing is, 13 and a half minutes to go, he might catch the leaders, which are Gonzabo and Kylie as well. He might catch them, and obviously maybe he's on the podium right now, maybe obviously get second place, or maybe even the winner.
As we were talking about him, we immediately cut to the race winner from race 1. Goto in a battle with Massimo and Szymanski. We saw Massimo and Szymanski battling a lot in the first race. But, we never really got to see what Goto's race pace is like, what his racecraft is. He didn't have to overtake him, he didn't have to defend from anyone. So, as we see him here at the back of this 3-car grid, it's going to be very interesting to see if he has the overspeed to match the other cars, which from the looks of it he does seem to do, but he has to have the racecraft as well. He hasn't overtaken around the circuit yet, so he's going to be probably have the least experience in actual wheel-to-wheel battling. So as he comes around the second Ravazza, he's going to need a very good exit if he wants to power down the straight. He is driving the Lexus, which does have straight line speed. We saw that in the battle for first place. So I've got to Neuwirth in fourth. Driving his own race, he's again kind of been marred a bit by accidents, unfortunately for him. But he is keeping a good gap to Ryan Cooper behind him in fifth.
Oh, this is
for the
Kylie and
front.
Gonzabo back to the front. So Gonzabo, Kylie caught up with Gonzabo once again. He needs a good exit here, Kylie, so that he can come up to the run to the Piratella and then Acqua Minerale ahead of Gonzabo, because obviously Malinowski, as we all know, 2.1 seconds, the gap is coming down to the leader Gonzabo. So Kylie needs to get on with it if he wants to win this race. And Malinowski, with 12 minutes to go, he might also win the race with 2 seconds away from the leader. 11 minutes to go, 12 minutes to go, sorry. So if these two tangle, or maybe they get up fighting, Malinowski is 1.2 seconds right now behind the leader Gonzabo. So Malinowski could take the win as well.
Gonzabo and Kylie don't even need to fight. Malinowski just has an incredible car under him. He set it up perfectly so that he just has incredible pace. And the fact that he's closed up so much. They were battling, Kylie and Gonzabo were battled a little bit earlier, but they haven't really been battling the last 2-3 laps. They haven't been slowing each other down too much. The gap is now 6/10 between the two. So they're driving a bit in clean air. But Malinowski is still a lot closer to Gonzabo and Kylie than he was just a lap ago. Hell, at the start of this lap, he was a lot further away. This entire lap, we've been seeing him getting visually closer and closer to the point where he's now probably the same distance to Kylie as Kylie is to Gonzabo, which is a very, very impressive drive. Remember, he started probably around, I believe he started in 20th position.
And the thing
Don't
is,
quote me on that.
And the thing is, Simon, Malinowski knows where these two, as we see Oscar Soresta right now, on Tangai right now, on the Jaguar, currently in 7th place and 6th place. Oscar Soresta showing that he is there to Tangai, keeps up this stream, braking hard into the Variante Tamburello on the inside. Oscar Soresta makes the move on Tangai and on the Jaguar. So Oscar Soresta on the BMW GT3 car is in 6th place. Tangai relegated to 7th place. As I was telling before, Malinowski, Simon, sorry, Malinowski knows where the bad points of Gonzabo and Kylie are, and so obviously he knows where his strong points are, and he can use them to get ahead, maybe catch them and passes, as Malinowski right now is in 2nd place. He passed Luca Kylie, so Luca Kylie relegated to 3rd place, and Malinowski is in 2nd place, going up to Gonzabo, trying to catch the leader in what is going to be a 10-minute race for Gonzabo and Malinowski. So Luca Kylie in 3rd place. Malinowski, not even qualifying for the 2nd race, is in 2nd place.
And he has the pace to challenge Gonzabo in the lead. All he has to do is get a few good clean laps under him, and he can have a genuine challenge at winning this race. Because now we're watching Christopher Tangai in 7th place with an absolutely incredible 5-car battle for the lower half of the top 10. And in this battle, there's also the race winner from last race, Goldzo, the Szymanski, who was incredible pace. Massimo, who's also a very, very good racer. This is, there are 5 cars. Oscar Soristo was battling at the front of this race. He qualified in P3. He has to go absolutely ahead of the pace.
That Goldzo on Tangai. Goldzo gets the slipstream on Tangai. Goldzo, we're on board with him right now. He gets the slipstream onto the start for the straight. Wheel to wheel with Tangai. We brake hard right now into the Variante Tamburello, the Tamburello chicane. And Goldzo has done it. The race winner from race 1 just overtook Tangai for 7th place. That relegated Tangai to 8th place. Goldzo in 7th place. Then Oscar Soristo 6th. Ryan Cooper in 5th. Neuwirth in P4. Luca Kylie in 3rd place. And Malinowski catching Gonzabo the gap. 1.5 seconds. With 8.5.
It's only 1.5 seconds now. It was about 2 when he got past Kylie. So
with
Malinowski absolutely has the pace.
And he's absolutely flying with 8.5 minutes to go racing. He's absolutely flying.
Couldn't agree with you more. As we see, Gonzabo, I think that is Malinowski just making a bit of a mistake, running wide from the Acqua Minerale, because they're now coming up to the Variante Alta chicane names. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's pushing hard.
He's absolutely pushing hard. Cut back now to the battle for 8th, 9th, and 10th with Szymanski in the middle of it, just behind Tangai. We saw Goldzo and Oscar Soristo get past him only a few laps ago. Goldzo now into 7th. Tangai, he's jumping up a little bit. He's done really well to keep his position this far for this long. But I do feel like maybe he pushes tires a bit too far. Maybe he's overheating his tires and brakes. because the other cars are catching him. Szymanski, very, very good defender, very good battler. But Masum is going to go round the outside into the first Ravazza corner. He's not going to get a move done there. But can he pin it so he gets a very, very good exit all the way down the front straight? Can he try and move into Tamburello, into the first chicane? He has to see. It's all about overspeed now. As Tanguy dives into the pits. Don't know if he had a mistake or a problem there, but that is him out of contention for a top 10 finish. Heading back to these two, though, Masum does have a bit more speed. He's in the slipstream. He's going to have a very, very good chance. Around the outside of Tamburello, dives to the inside. Can he break later in time? Doesn't look like he's going to have to wait just a little longer to make that move stick.
Yeah, we're still with Gonzabo in first place and Malinowski with almost 2 seconds, with 7 minutes left of racing. Then Luca Kaili in third place. As we see Szymanski right now on Mahsoum.
He made a mistake.
He made a mistake. Mahsoum has made a mistake. Szymanski has done it. So Szymanski in 8th place and Mahsoum in the Ferrari.
Minor correction there. Mahsoum has gotten. Szymanski made the mistake. Mahsoum got past him on the exit of not Tamburello, the other one. Villeneuve, that's the one. But yeah, so these two driving back again. Szymanski's going to go back up the inside into this corner. Very long left-hander.
They both left the track. They both are off the track. So Mahsoum in the Ferrari. They paid. Oh, around the outside, Szymanski. What an amazing overtake.
You don't go around the aqua.
What an amazing overtake. Downhill. And let's see right now, Mahsoum getting the slipstream into to Szymanski, coming down to the Variante Alta chicane. Szymanski stays in front of Mahsoum. What an amazing. Let's hope we get a replay of that overtaking. That was an amazing
absolutely
overtake.
Amazing. You don't go around the outside. You don't go around the outside of Ackermann and Raleigh too often.
No
and
way.
You don't do it that confidently either.
That's an amazing overtake by Szymanski on Mahsoum. These are the non-qualifiers of race 2. Let's not forget. These are the top 10 finishers from race 1. As we see right now, let's hope obviously the direction catch up with the leaders. Gonzabo still in first place, but only 8/8 of a second on Malinowski. There we are. Gonzabo in first place. Malinowski in second place. Only the gap hovering around under a second with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left of racing. Gonzabo in first place with 7/10 now on Malinowski. Malinowski needs to get some good qualifying laps to catch and maybe pass Gonzabo
is a lot closer than he was. He made a really good amount of time around Toza.
He is.
Following all the way down to this long left-hander. You have to be very, very careful on the brakes and on the power to make sure you don't run wide, as Gonzabo just keeps into the track. Malinowski does a bit better.
And if he gets the final corner right, Malinowski could end up in front of Gonzabo at the first Tamburello chicane. So Gonzabo in first place. The gap under half a second right now on Malinowski. Then Luca Kaili, who will drop back a little bit obviously right now with 5 seconds of the leader. Gonzabo in first place. Malinowski with a great exit on his Audi GT3 car. Gonzabo in the Lexus GT3 car. Let's see what the Ravazza corners might do for Malinowski and Gonzabo. They come up to as well to the first of the back markers, and that could help Malinowski to overtake Gonzabo. We're on board with Malinowski, resting hard. That Audi GT3 car, same Audi GT3 car as Luca Kaili, let's not forget.
And we saw that Kaili had problems down the straight. He didn't have the straight line speed that Gonzabo had. We see Malinowski doesn't seem to have the same problems. He's a lot closer than Kaili ever got. Is he going to be able to take a dive up to the inside of Tamburello? No, he's not. He's going to have to stay behind just until longer.
Yeah, Gonzabo made a mistake. Malinowski in first place takes the lead from Gonzabo. That's it. That's the lead from Gonzabo. Malinowski, blue flags there for the first of the back markers. I told you the back markers might play a big part. Well, Malinowski in first place takes the lead from a mistake from Gonzabo with 3.
He has driven so incredibly this race. He's so far down the order. Didn't qualify because he finished in the top 10.
Exactly, with 3.5 minutes of racing to go. Malinowski on the 15th lap takes Gonzabo's race lead and just walks away. 2 seconds already on Gonzabo. What an amazing race by Malinowski.
It's a very rare mistake from Gonzabo as well. We've seen him so far in this race be so good at the close quarter battling. He's managed to hold off Kaili for so long.
Oh, Malinowski made a mistake.
Malinowski made a mistake. This is going to give Gonzabo a chance to close up that gap. It's 1.9 seconds, but at the time of that mistake, it's a lot. You can visually see it's a lot less now. As we come back to 7th place, this is Szymanski battling with Mahsoum again. These two have been embroiled in an incredible battle the entire race. As they come around Acqua Minerale, is Mahsoum going to be able to try something on the exit into the Variante Alta? Well, we have a few seconds to find out. It doesn't seem close enough. It seems a bit too far back. not going to be able to get a movement here. But Samansky, again, a very, very good defender. He's managed to keep his place. And when he did lose the place, he had that incredible move around the outside of Akam Minerali. These two are going to be a battle to watch for the remaining only 2.5 minutes to go. The race is coming to an end. Malinowski seems to have got the move done at just the right time.
What Gonzalo needs to do right now is follow Malinowski closely. As I'm saying that, he is close because he's already 1.5 seconds right now from Malinowski with 2.5 minutes still left of racing left. He needs to get closer to Malinowski so that when Malinowski makes the slightest mistake, Gonzalo is there to pick up everything and the race lead and maybe the race win as well. As we see right now, we're on board with Malinowski in the lead of the race with 1.7 seconds on Gonzalo, who's still Gonzalo. Even if he finishes second place, he could say he could walk away with pride as well because he did an incredible race. Even Luca Kaili did an incredible race, and also Golzo in 6th place. So the winner of race 1 is in 6th place.
We have seen, this is what we wanted from this race. We put the top 10 drivers towards the back of the field so they have to fight back. I don't think many people would have put money on Malinowski fighting back to the field as quickly as he did to be battling in the top 5 for probably the majority of the race. And now he's in the lead, and he's got 2.3 seconds ahead of Gonzalo. Gonzalo, he's saying he absolutely should be proud of what he's done, even if he does finish in second place. He drove such a good race. But he's a racing driver, and ultimately, he lost that position because of a mistake he made. So, in his eyes, that's the thing that's going to be the takeaway, unfortunately. But we're here to confirm that he should be absolutely proud of what he's done so far. He's driven so well, fought so hard. Malinowski also has a lot to be proud of. You don't fight through probably around 20 cars into the lead of the race and not be happy with yourself. As we cut to the man of the hour today, this is Sir Foch, the person who is currently hosting this community event. He's another one of the drivers who drove really well in the first race, hasn't been able to claw back as far as Malinowski or Golzo has, but 9th place, he also started towards the bottom end. I think he started maybe 19th in the end. Do not quote me on any of these positions, by the way. But he's driven really, really well to get into 9th. He's made a lot of good overtakes, been in a lot of good battles. And yeah, a very solid performance from him. Which is going to be... I was going to say, it's going to be... His performance is going to be outshone a bit by Malinowski, who's just been the class of the field today in this second race. 19 seconds left. This is going to be the final lap, probably.
What an amazing job, Malinowski.
This is going to be the final lap. If you're Malinowski, all you need to do is just keep the car on the track. Don't make a mistake. Don't run off wide. If you don't get a penalty for like track limits or anything like that. Gonzalo is honestly in a similar position. He's got a 7-second buffer to Kylie, and you're not going to make up about 3 seconds in half a lap, unless Malinowski makes a mistake, which he's going to be trying not to do. So
what an amazing job by Malinowski, actually. Yeah, what an amazing job by the non-qualifier for race 2. Let's not forget, Malinowski into the Variante Alta chicane. He comes down right now to the first of the Rivazza corners and the second of the Rivazza corners.
He's only got 2 corners left to go.
2 corners left to go. This will be the final lap of his life. Malinowski down through the gears, down, braking hard into the first of the Rivazza corner, then up a bit of a gear, braking down again, second of the Rivazza corner, and on to the start-finish straight. What a moment to be proud of. Malinowski wins the race 2 of Imola. Here in Imola, he wins race 2. The non-qualifier for race 2 wins, and that's the white flag and checkered flag. That's the
checkered flag. That is Malinowski taking the win ahead of Gonzalo in second place. Kylie is going to finish a very... Actually, no, I tell a lie. I think Neuwirth has got third place over Kylie in the end.
Oh, Neuwirth,
Neuwirth did get third place. Kylie in 4th ahead of Ryan Cooper. Golzo, the winner of race 1, finishes in 6th place. Summer Foch
and Masum and Ben Norton. Summer Foch still gets 9th place.
He does keep 9th over Ben Norton.
In 10th place on the 911 GT3 car.
Those are your top 10 finishes. We had.
What an incredible race.
I completely understand that side for you. It was such an incredible race. There isn't a sleep long enough I can take after that. It was so exciting. I don't think there was a single lap where we didn't have some sort of battle, some sort of two cars attacking each other. It was so incredible to watch.
It was an incredible race to see, especially when you consider Malinowski didn't even qualify for race 2 because obviously he finished in the top 10 of race 1. What an amazing job he did.
And even outside of those two, the top 3 we had at the beginning, which was Gonzalo, Kylie, and Oscar Saristo. for the first maybe 10 minutes of the race, those two were giving us such an incredible battle.
Incredible.
Unfortunately for us, because that he was spun around and dumped back. But even him, he was so consistently in that fight. And we saw in the first race, mistakes kind of took a few cars out. The same was said for Sir Foch here, but I think in the end he still had a pretty good finishing position. I don't quite know exactly where he was, but he was in the top 10 for sure. So you have those moments where just like every single driver had so many amazing merits for them. But as you've been hyping him the whole race, Malinowski, superb. Completely stellar.
An incredible job by Malinowski to non-qualify for race 2. So obviously you start the race at the bottom end of the field and then finishing up winning the race on the penultimate lap, basically, because yes, obviously Kunzabo made a small error, but obviously he was there to pick up everything else. If he was 3 seconds behind, he would have stayed in second position. An amazing job. An amazing job by Malinowski. And what an amazing job. Obviously as well, Gonzabo needs to have his head up high, obviously, because an incredible race. Racing the best of race 1, some of the best of the race 1, because Malinowski, we knew he was one of the best of race 1. So racing him...
He qualified on the front row.
Exactly. So racing him to the penultimate lap. An amazing job by Gonzabo as well. And even Luca Kiley. Obviously, then Luca Kiley, my best guess is that he ran out of tires because he was 5 seconds or 6 seconds behind the leader. Yeah. So my best guess is that he either ran out of fuel or not ran out of fuel. Maybe the fuel light was on, or maybe the tires just said.
Very unfortunate for him. He drove really, really well, led so many of the laps, and in the end finishes 4th. Get pipped by Neweth, I think on the line or in the final few corners. Pity we didn't get to see that on track as it was happening. But he, again, his performance, like Gonzalo, can't really be understated. They both drove so well. I think in Gonzalo's case, it's really unfortunate that the reason he didn't win, or one of the reasons he didn't win the race, was because of a mistake he made. Really unchallenged. He had like a second and a half when he made the mistake. So it's not like Malinowski was a 10th behind, putting pressure on at every single corner. Very unfortunate for him, but that's how races go, you know. And these people are unfortunately human. They can't be perfect around every single corner, every single lap. That's the mistake he made, and that's the way he crumbled. Gonzalo finishes 2nd place, absolutely well deserved. I think he was one of the class acts of this second race. And again, considering in the first race he did get stuck in that mid-pack, he couldn't really fight his way through as well as some other drivers did, like Malinowski did in this race. To be consistently at the front and consistently competitive at that front, he had every chance to win this race and deserved it just as much as Malinowski did. They both drove incredibly well.
The thing is, Gonzalo had a really good always had good exit speeds from all corners, actually, in comparison with Luca Kiley. We saw it visually, what an amazing job exiting the corners Gonzalo was doing in comparison to Luca Kiley. So an incredible job by Gonzalo. Also Luca Kiley, obviously, he needs to work on maybe conserving more tires. Well, we'll see in the interviews what he has to say, but my best guess is that he either ran out of tires or a bit low on fuel.
Typically, we'll be having, as you picked up from Edwin just there, we'll be having a few interviews in just a few moments. Edwin, if you speak to any of the drivers on the field, I think typically we'll probably interview the top 3. If you get to interview any of the drivers outside of those top 3, who would you want to talk to? Who do you think, whose race interested you from
Malinowski. Malinowski, that's an easy answer, because an incredible race. That's an incredible, and to win it in on the penultimate lap. What an incredible job he just did. He drove brilliantly. Maybe just one mistake on the penultimate lap when he went wide into the Variante Alta, and that's it. That's the only mistake he did all race. What an incredible job he did.
I am incredibly curious. So obviously in race 1 he started in 2nd place, was challenging Golso all the way down to Tamburello, and then unfortunately made a mistake and spun out. I'm so curious to see what he would have done in that first race. Whether he could have taken the fight to Golso.
And he could have, obviously, but as you mentioned Golso as well, the problem I think for Golso was, yes, obviously he was in the battle of that midfield, but he at the first race he just was alone and ran out with the whole race and won it. In race 2 he was in the middle of that pack, so he had to overtake, and that maybe distracted a bit of some of his concentration.
He also had a very unfortunate spin at the exit of Acqua Minerale, which
exactly as well.
At all.
But when you're all alone for him, maybe I think so. Obviously, when you're all alone, for him, it was just him and the track, and that's it.
It was essentially hot lapping at that point.
Exactly.
Right. We're currently going to be joined by the P3 finisher of race 1. So we're going to be joining him for an interview. I believe P3 for race 1 was Sir Foch, so who is the person hosting our stream today, which is very exciting for us to interview. Sir Foch, how are you doing? Maybe we don't have it quite ready yet. So Edwin, talking about Sir Foch, he had 2 very different races. First one battling at the front for most of it, and then the second one a bit more quiet in the mid-pack, couldn't make the same moves that Goldsaw and Malnowski could. What do you think he should take away from this in terms of his racecraft and his ability to cut through a field?
I think the second race was, for him, it was waiting for others to make a mistake. And instead of being such a quiet race, he just waited for everyone else to make mistakes. And that's what happened actually, because he finished the race up high in the rankings. And the second race, and the first race, sorry, he had the chance to obviously fight for that podium position in second place and third place. In the second race, since he obviously started the race at the bottom half of the field,
Definitely.
he just waited for others to make mistakes, maybe tangle as well, maybe crash as well. And that's what happened actually, because for him, I am finishing in 4th, I think, or 6th. It was
in the second race he finished a bit further back. I think it was toward the lower end of the top 10. In the first race he did finish third.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, he waited for. I think Sir Foch is on right now.
Sir Foch, can you hear us? If you can, we cannot hear you, which is a mild issue. In our ears, we're getting our race director just going race just a sec, which probably means he's furiously panicking. So yeah, we'll just give Sir Foch and our lovely director a few seconds just to get everything sorted. Again, this is the thing with live video. You can't edit things out when mild mistakes happen.
That's the brilliance of live
Hello?
and live television.
Definitely. So, while we wait a few moments until we get confirmation that...
Oh, there is Sami.
Okay, as I say that, I think we have gotten confirmation. Sir Foch, how are you doing? Can you hear us? Once again, we cannot hear you. I'm not sure if it's just us on the commentator side or if it's on the stream as well. Talk about Sir Foch in the first race. Second race was very different. Can't hear me. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the way audio works on streams is that you have to mute and unmute a lot of things to get it working so that we can hear everything, but the stream only hears what we want it to. And I can imagine our race director, the lovely Justin Lifsuit, is scratching his head, I think, at the moment.
Pressing every button.
I feel like it's going to be one of those things.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's done this enough times, he knows exactly what he's meant to do. But there's probably that one minor detail, something's not plugged in or something, and it's just the one thing you don't think about. It's going to be
button not pressed or something like that. Again, on race 2, what an amazing race. An incredible race from start to finish. Flag, one whole amazing race. What an incredible race. Even race 1, obviously, because race 1 we had the obviously not for Goldsaw, because Goldsaw he just went away and won the race.
Yeah.
We're up to Sir Foch right now, maybe.
Yes, we should be trying one more time. Sir Foch, hello, can you hear us? Unfortunately, we still cannot hear him. So again, please bear with us. We're so sorry. But yeah, going back to race 1. Race 1 was not a boring race by any stretch of the imagination. It was very exciting. There were battles, 3-4 car battles, the whole way through. But when you compare it to race 2, race 1 could have been a Monaco race with elephants. Race 2 was just so interesting and so single corner, something else was happening. And if it wasn't an on-track battle, it was a car making a slight mistake that would give birth to an online battle.
Let's check again.
We're going to check another time. So, Sir Foch, how are you doing? Can you hear us? Seem like it. You gotta hate technology sometimes, don't you? Never does what you want it to. It's like when you go to charge. It's like when you pick up your phone.
Exactly.
When you're running out the house. You have to pick up your phone. 5% battery. Oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's
what
out of
you
they're always running out. Sir Foch, are you there? The thing I love most, actually, Simon, and I think you will agree with me, now, is the way Malinowski came through the field cleanly,
Yes.
hardly, and obviously hard racing as well, but cleanly. And he won the race cleanly. He never touched with anyone, he never tangled with, and he won it fair and square, actually. He beat everyone fair and square.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, obviously, what we want is fair, clean racing that's also entertaining. And Malinowski put on a pretty much masterclass of what that looks like. And what's kind of interesting about that is, in the first race was kind of a premonition, or almost foreshadowing this how good he was going to be in the second
The
race.
rest of the rehearsal for the second race.
Definitely.
Sir
Let's just
Foch?
check with Sir Foch. How are you doing? Can you hear us? Unfortunately, we still cannot hear him. I'm not sure if maybe they can hear us on the... Maybe the issue
The
was
other
Discord or
side,
something.
maybe?
Could be.
Sir Foch? Hello?
It would be very funny if Sir Foch's microphone is muted.
I don't think so. I don't
assume
think so,
not.
though. I
But
don't
you-
think so.
You know, in the age of COVID, we've all had those Zoom meetings where it's just like you're talking for 5 minutes and then your microphone's muted. But
I don't think so, though. Let's check
No.
again.
no, we're hearing. We're not hearing much.
Okay.
So, as I was saying just a moment ago, Malinowski's first race, a brilliant foreshadowing for what he was going to put on the second race. I did mention in the build-up to the second race, he was one of the drivers I was going to look out for because I knew he could overtake. We saw him have the pace in that car, really, really fast car he had under him. Yeah, it's so exciting to see that kind of come to fruition for him. He put his car exactly where he needed to, lap after lap, made one tiny mistake that we saw, and even that maybe lost him 4 tenths, if that. Whereas when you look compared to Consabo's mistake, lost him over a tenth and a half and the position,
Definitely.
and a pretty important position because he lost the lead. So in that sense, Malinowski was one of those drivers who just didn't put a foot wrong. And in my opinion, probably the driver of the day. Despite his mistake in race 1, he still outclassed himself in that race to finish in the top 5. I believe he was in the top 5 in the end. And then the second race to win from probably 20th place around that area. What else can you say other than absolutely phenomenal?
I agree with you. And the thing is, with that small mistake he did, he knew that he was going to do the mistake, and that's why he opened the steering, went wide, just let the car drift wide, and then catch up the steering again. So, if you try to wrestle with the steering wheel, you could end up and crashing into the barrier. So, an amazing job. What an amazing day for Malinowski.
Let's move slightly away from the top 2 finishers. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about Goltso, Malinowski, and Consabo. In the second race, Neuwirth finished in P3, which I feel like is a very understated but very incredible performance for him. Obviously, we saw him in the first race, very much mid-pack, didn't manage to make it into the top 10, finished, I believe, 12th, 13th, around that area. And then in the second race, he came back with an incredible qualifying performance. I think, again, he was probably qualified 4th or 5th. And just, despite how many accidents happening around him, with Sarista and Kylie making mistakes, Consabo making mistakes, he never seemed to let that affect him. He was constantly in the right place at the right time to just keep a clean race.
And obviously, considering he did a mistake as well in qualifying, that didn't affect him as well. No,
Yes,
he did a mistake on the final corner in the second Revazza. So that didn't affect him as well. And obviously, he recovered well throughout the race, throughout the whole race, and he knew from there on the limits of the car as well. If you don't make a mistake, you don't know the limits of the car, where exactly are the best braking point of the car. You don't do a mistake, obviously. When you do the mistake, you'll notice that, okay, I need to brake a bit further, I need to brake a bit later. And by the mistake he did at the final corner, during qualifying too, he knew the limits of his car and he knew the limits of himself as well. And that didn't affect him, and he got an incredible race result in race 2.
Sure. Equally, I mean, someone else who had a really, really good race too was Ryan Cooper, who in the first race, we got to him a couple of times, but I honestly, like, this isn't, I don't mean to be this as to be rude or anything, but I don't really know what he did in race 2. He was very much towards the bottom end of the field, kind of on his own all of the time. At race 2, he flipped a switch, had incredible
Exactly.
pace, kept with the top 5 pretty much the entire time, and at the end time finished 6th place, which is extremely good for him. As we're gonna try one more time. So Samir Foch, please let us know if you can hear us. It doesn't look like it. Shame. No. We'll be continually checking a few times as we're obviously trying to figure out where the exact issue is. So just bear with us while we sort things out. We had to think of, from the top 10 races from the first race, some of them didn't quite make it as far up as they might have wanted. Samir Foch being one of them. Kind of looks similarly. I think could have done. Who did you expect more from almost? Is there anyone who you might think would have done better, would have been better at overtaking, or were you kind of impressed with it across the board?
No, I think Goltz actually. I thought Goltz was going to overtake almost everyone in the field, since he had that race pace in race 1. Winning by 11 seconds is not an easy job to do, but he did win it in race 1 with 11 seconds. So I thought I thought most of it that obviously qualifying, not qualifying, ending up in 21st place for race 2 isn't an easy job to do, but so it wasn't Malinowski, and he did win the race. So I thought that, as I think the director is going to check, Samir Foch, can you hear us? No. And that's what I was saying. I thought Goltz was going to maybe run away with the field, not obviously winning the race, but at least get a podium. And that didn't happen actually for him.
I do think it is hard to understate. Goltz was one of those that's kind of hard to judge, because we saw him have, like I said, we saw him have that spin, which I can't remember if it was his fault. Maybe he had some contact. I can't remember quite exactly how that went down. But obviously that spin lost him a lot of places, and lost him a lot of time, so he would have had to fall back. So to fight back again into 5th or 6th place, where I think 6th or 7th he finished, it's not a bad performance by any stretch of the imagination. He clearly had more place than a lot of the other drivers who started further down. Obviously, it's kind of the problem with Malinowski winning is that every other performance looks a lot weaker by comparison, because he won the race. Like you can't really complain about that. He clearly had the best car, the best racecraft, and also, I mean, naturally a touch of luck, but like it's racing, everything is a bit.
And also, we need to consider as well that they didn't have that 5-minute sort of qualifying and warm up for the second race. They just stayed there watching the others go by, and that's it. And that buffer of 5 minutes not doing anything, you think that it might slow you down or something, yeah, or maybe not concentrating on the race, and they did it for Malinowski. So he stayed for those 5 minutes in the pits, not doing anything, and obviously he still won the race. So that's the most incredible part of winning on the penultimate lap, was that he stayed there, not qualifying, not just stayed there watching the others go by, and he still won the race.
While we wait for the interviews to be sorted, please be sure to check out ESTV, Motorsport.tv, and TVM Sport, which are the lovely channels that host our broadcast. And also, this is a community race for Samir Foch, so go follow him over on Twitch and on YouTube. His content is very entertaining and very much racing related. So if you're enjoying what we've been doing here, go join him and be a part of the next community race he hosts. Very, 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 very sweet guy.
Let's hope we get more racing as well from Samir Foch racing community. More racing as exciting as today, because obviously I lost my voice today.
Yeah, you're gonna need to take a lozenge.
It was an amazing race. It was an amazing, truly amazing race. Two sort more than race 1. Race 2 was more. I think, in my opinion, they were both exciting. Race 2 was more exciting than race 1.
That's the thing. It's one of those things. We came out of race 1 being really hyped, really energetic, because it was such a good race. And then race 2 happened. And you can't really talk about race 1 and race 2 in the same vein, because race 2 was just insane. Race 2 is one of those kind of like Formula 1 races that happens once every 10 years.
Exactly.
It's Hockenheim 2019 or Brazil from 2008. It doesn't happen every so often. And when you do get it, it's such a joy to be a part of. Like, I'm so happy I was here today.
Exactly. No, me too. Even I was I expected some good racing, but I didn't expect this much of a good racing. So
this is what you get when you get a bunch of like professional esports races and tell them have fun.
Exactly. They just
It's a
went out
community
there.
race. Like there's no real stakes to it. It's just a bunch of drivers joining together to have as much fun as they can. And obviously, yeah, they're competing for bragging rights, but beyond that, it's just them enjoying each other's company, enjoying each other's racing, and you get some of the best racing from it. It's so
And
good to watch.
and the format as well was good because the top 10, obviously, that finished from race 1 ended up last 10 on race 2 and inverted as well, and reverse grid. So, and that was the most important part, sort of
I
the
agree.
of the whole format. Was incredible. We thought, and I mean I thought as well that the first 10 they end up the last 10 same grid, but the reverse grid is even better. So
One of those things. When I first heard the way the format was going to be, I have to be honest. It happens when F1 brings up this topic of reverse grid as well. I'm always a bit skeptical that you're going to make the racing a bit predictable. Proved me wrong, didn't it?
and they
Proved
did
me
it
so wrong.
because what an amazing job by all of them, by Gonzabo, by Kylie, by obviously the winner of race 2, Malinowski. What an amazing job those guys did. They put an incredible show for us tonight.
That's the best
An
way to describe it. They
incredible
put on-
Saturday evening night.
Yes. It's one of those things. I cannot wait. I really hope this format gets used more in the future because it produced some of the best racing we've seen since I've been a commentator here on World Pro Racing. That's saying a lot. We've seen some incredible races over
Exactly.
the few months. Like,
All
the
the-
HyperX Series and the Malta GT3 Championship.
That was a
So
final
many.
race that we will never forget, actually, with rain,
Of course,
and then the track not drying up quickly than it should be, and obviously some drivers kept on the dry tires, some kept on the wet tires, and obviously during that race, since the track wasn't drying up quickly, obviously the director told us to check, maybe. Samir Foch, you there? Samir Foch?
Hello, Sir Foch, can you hear us? Doesn't seem like it.
Some music as well. And as I was saying about the GT3 Championship in Malta, the last race,
I agree. It was
with the
probably
track
one
not
of the most
drying around,
exciting
it
finishes we
was an
had.
amazing race. But obviously it was an endurance race because it was an hour long instead of 30 minutes like we had today. But obviously it was the last race, and that's why it was an hour long. And
For everyone watching, if you haven't seen the finale of the Multinational GT3 Championship, I highly recommend you finding it on YouTube and giving it a watch. It was a very the entire championship was thrilling, but the final race specifically really just set the bar on another level for that championship. It was really good race.
it was amazing.
Just like
because
this one, like
because the drivers on the Malta GT3 Championship, they were covered by 3 points, I think. I think 3 drivers were covered by 3 points or 4 points. 4 points. The
it would
first
have been
3.
very interesting to see if this series had a point system in place. We would assume I would assume that Malinowski or Golta would have taken it because they both had similar finishing positions. As we're now going to check once again. Samir Foch, hello, can you hear us? Look like it. For those of you who may be a bit confused about what's happening, Samir Foch finished in P3 of the first race, so we'll be trying to interview him along with the second and first place finishers from race 1, and obviously the top 3 from race 2 as well. So yeah, we hope that we can get these interviews to you as soon as possible, as we're just sorting out some minor technical issues.
Samir Foch, you there? There's no Samir Foch, still no P3 finisher. Yeah, what can we say? What an incredible day or evening of racing we had today, Simon. Let's hope.
I pity the fool who puts on a race after this one because
Exactly.
the bar is so high that anything else is going to be like, I don't want to say a step down because obviously racing is racing. It's always going to have your entertaining moments.
Exactly.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.